Hey, it's James, Father's Rights and Resources, hashtag how I got custody. Sorry about the pause there. I didn't realize I was on. YouTube has like 20 different messages before you get out here and get on here. So I wanted to talk about things. People keep saying this bogus myth that creating 50-50 laws is going to fix anything. Okay. And then also, I had some guy from, maybe I'll post his comment as a thumb, but my gender is so stupid. This guy is, I think his username was District 519. I was telling him that, 50-50 laws won't work because he was on here. I have my video that says the number one argument for 50-50. So you still want to go for it, but I don't think any dad should ever go for only 50-50. The mother's going in there for full custody. The courts hate 50-50. They think that's too much back and forth with the kids because they need stability of one home, which is bull crap, because children need the relationship with the parents, not the four walls of a building, okay? That being said, this is the problem our gender has to deal with. The reality of the world that we live in. So this guy, it was on, it was on my page. It was either on my page about guardian ad litems, or it might have been on my page, my video about guardian ad litems, or my video about 50-50 is the number one argument. So he talked about we need to pass 50-50 laws. I said anybody with half a brain can realize that women already go to court and say he's violent. They claim domestic violence or child abuse, and then drugs and alcohol and all that other stuff, okay? So they go in there and do that all the time, right? And so if they go in there now, when there's no 50-50 laws, and ask for domestic violence protection orders and findings of domestic violence, all this other stuff, if they already do that now when they're likely going to get full custody anyway, how much more are women going to claim domestic violence when the court says we're going to give them 50-50 unless there's domestic violence or child abuse? I told that to this guy. I told him it's stupid to think that passing a law for 50-50 laws is going to change the hearts of prejudicial judges. So judges are prejudicial toward dads usually. Once you're a mom who's become a non-custodial parent, they'll screw you and they'll, look frown upon and look down upon you also. But if they're already lying about domestic violence, and then there's a threat of them to share the kids, of course they're going to claim more domestic violence. And then the law is moot. It was actually a law in Missouri. This is how stupid my gender is. And the lawmakers are a bunch of limp-wristed, effeminate, punk, simp cowards. In Missouri, they passed a 50-50 law that said the court starts with a presumption of 50-50. Okay. Looks like I got interrupted for a second. Sorry about that. Later on, I'm talking about Missouri 50-50 law. These fathers' rights groups were all puffing and pounding their chests and like, yeah, we got this law passed. The lawmakers are like, yeah, we got this law passed. Think about how stupid they are. They're lawyers with law degrees, and they're so stupid, they wrote this law to say, the judge starts with presumption of 50-50, and then later on in the end it says, but if the court finds that such an order is not in the best interest of the child, they don't have to go with this presumption. So they have a clause in there that says you can totally ignore this whole thing and you're back at square one with the best interest of the child. Who's the stupid jackass in Missouri that wrote that crap? And who are all the feminine, punk, brainless zombie simps who thought that was a great thing? My gender is so stupid. I'm a warehouse worker who flunked out of college twice. Went to Seattle U and played basketball that year, then transferred to UW. Didn't know what I wanted to do, flunked some classes. And then I tried to go back to community college, and I didn't know what I was doing. I was just floating through the stupid education system and flunked out of there. And now I'm mopping the floor with attorneys in my own case and helping others do it. These idiots can't read basic plain English and have deductive reasoning. So then the guy that I'm talking to, I explained this to him, that the laws aren't going to do anything, right? And I said, it's stupid to rely on the law. He said, you're crazy if you think 50-50 is stupid. That's the best interest of the child and stuff like that. This is how dumb this idiot is. I wasn't talking about 50-50 being a bad thing. I have a video that talks about the number one argument for 50-50. That should be the end goal. But you don't go in there and be a stupid jackass and say, I want 50-50 now. And you top yourself off at that. You never go to family court and ever get everything that you ask for. So why would you top yourself off at your end goal? If you've ever bought a car, or you've ever bought something on Craigslist or OfferUp or whatever, or went to a garage sale, with everything else in life, a man will go there and say, man, I want to buy these pair of jeans at this yard sale for $10. They're saying 20. I'll offer 5. And maybe they'll work their way down to 10. That's how we operate, and that's how we think with everything else in life. But when it comes to family court, we all of a sudden lose all of our operating brain cells and go brain dead and act like a stupid jackass and don't think, I'm going into court, I'm going to war, I'm going to fight for my kids. Well, let me just offer the end goal that I have here. Let me just show my cards. And then dads will be stupid enough to say, oh, please, can we just settle out of court? I'm so tired of you fighting. I'm so tired of this. Please make it go away. I'll sign anywhere. And you show your desperation, and you got 2 hours of supervised visitation. And the mother says, and you're like, please give me every other weekend. Like, that's your end goal now. And the mother says, are you kidding me? You got 2 hours of supervised visitation. I got total domination and control of this case. I'll give you 4 hours of supervised visitation. You can gradually work your way up to every other weekend in a couple years. And then guys, my gender, easily quitting, lazy, giving up, cowards, simps, just say, oh, okay, whatever it takes, and then you sign off on it. And some guys don't even read the orders they sign off on. I've seen guys who have court orders that say, all the father's visitations shall be agreed upon by the parties. I'll give you guys sorry about that interruption again. I don't know what. Maybe it's my reception. I'm supposed to be on T-Mobile network. T-Mobile's mobile network with all the most towers out of everybody. Cell phone companies are full of crap. Anyway, think about that. If a dad has an order that says his visitation shall be agreed upon by the parties, what's the problem with that? The problem is, if the other side doesn't agree, then you have zero visitation. Duh! But there's guys who sign off on that and say, oh, we'll just agree to times. You go to court to fight to get an agreement. If you're suing somebody for some money they owe you, or say you do a contract job and you did $20,000 worth of work and you were going to get paid a bonus of $20,000 if it was done by a certain time and you beat that deadline, and you didn't get your bonus or something. I don't know. I'm just making something up. And you go and sue them, and the court says, well, you win, you deserve money. I'll let you guys go work out how much it is. That would be stupid. You're going to court to fight because you can't resolve an issue on your own. So you're letting somebody else decide, and then they don't decide. And you let them force you in. Whether you go to mediation, you have a stupid jackass attorney, which is 90% of what attorneys screw guys over with is the guy's fault. You let them do it. You knew deep in your conscience that you should be getting more than what you got, and you sign off on it anyway. You don't push the issue. The attorney's making $200 to $400 an hour, and you're the boss, and you're not acting like the boss of your attorney. The attorney says, well, you can't do this. Well, you can't do this. Well, I've had guys who never even talked to me. Before they talked to me, they said, I told my attorney, I fired my attorney because I told him to do this and that, and he didn't do it. So if there's guys out there who understand this concept without ever talking to me, then after talking to me, you can grow some balls too and actually stand up to your attorney and make them do their job. Especially since you already make a plumber, a landscaper, a paperboy, an electrician do their job when they come to your house. If they're working on your house, or they're refurbishing a room, or they're adding a section to your garage or a bedroom or a bathroom, you don't sit there and let them dictate how they want it done. It's your house. But for some reason, we let attorneys dictate our life with our kids, even though that's not the way we want it to go. And they tell us, well, we can't go for that because this is the way that it is. If you have a public defender saying, well, we can't really fight for your freedom, you know, the court's kind of prejudiced against you, or they don't like you, or you're coming from an area of town they don't like, I don't care that they don't like it. Do your job. Didn't you become an attorney to fight for justice and to fight against injustices? Why are you turning into such a punk right now? A lot of this stuff is common sense that people can figure out on their own. They're just scared to stand up and act like a normal human being and say, this is what's right. Because the average person, 80% of the society, just lays back, sits on the sidelines. There's probably a whole bunch of people sitting on the sidelines during the civil rights movement. They're like, yeah, I hope black people get some rights established, or they get, black kids get to go to the same school as white kids, and all this stuff stops. But 80% of people would think that and not go out in the streets and protest, or not risk getting arrested, or not stand up to anybody. Everybody wants to be quiet, drama-free. The average person is just a sheep. That's why societies get taken over when a society becomes soft. Whether you like Andrew Tate or not, what he said a bunch of profound stuff. And when he said alpha males are the guardians of society, they are. Because when you have strong males, you don't have dictators running roughshod over people. Because strong males don't tolerate that bull crap. I'm not talking about strong males necessarily big and buff. I'm talking about those who stand their ground and won't allow somebody to run them over. Won't allow somebody to have all kinds of perversion in their schools that they're teaching their kids. Won't tolerate their kid getting bullied in school or whatever. So let me get back to the point. 50-50 laws won't do anything. We already have good laws. And this guy, District 519, who's arguing with me like a stupid jackass. It's insane how people come onto my page. If I go onto somebody's page, I know nothing about mechanics, electric wiring around the house. I know little about cars. If I go on somebody's page and they're expert at that, I'm not going to go on there and argue with them on how stuff works, or how you should change your oil if you're doing it yourself, or how you should, do some work at home with wiring or whatever. If I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, and I've never succeeded at doing something, I'm not going to go on somebody's page and talk smack about this is the way that it is. But guys do it all the time. And they'll argue with me. Look, whether you like it or not, or the tone of what I'm saying, I'm an expert at this because I won over and over for 20 years in family court without an attorney. I've helped thousands of guys win in court. And the reason why people are like, oh, I don't like your tone and the way you address yourself. I just had somebody talk about my tone is bad. That'll never work in a courtroom. You stupid jackass. I'm on YouTube. This isn't how I argue. I'm not going to go into court and say, hey, you big, fat, ugly slob. Although I did tell my judge. For all you punk, sissy cowards and you little delicate, flowery little wimps out there. I did tell my judge in one of the last pleadings I wrote, because he started ruling against me in the end, because he wanted to help the mom get back in the kid's life, but the mom was an abandoning piece of garbage. So he wanted to bend over backwards for it. So he kept ruling against me, even though everything was in my favor. I had to go to the Court of Appeals to get him overturned one time. I shoved it in his face. I told all the judges, all the 37 judges in King County Superior Court, look at what this stupid jackass did. He violated basic law. I had to go to the Court of Appeals and get him reversed because he can't read this stuff. My sister with Down syndrome can read this better than he can. And I humiliated him in his workplace because I got some balls and I got a right to do that. And all you punk ass simps out there are saying, oh, you're so aggressive and you're so this and that. I'm still alive. I never got arrested. And then one of the last things, and all you guys are scared to even cite the law to a judge. I have people say, well, you don't want, we can't say anything to the judge about the law because we'll look arrogant. You stupid jackass, where'd you get that from? I'm getting sick and tired of guys saying they can't do stuff when I show you my winning court orders. And I know people don't like my tone and like me sounding attacking stuff. But the number one answer to the problem in family court is for guys to grow some balls and stand up for themselves. I can tell you all the tricks and traits and all the laws and all this legal stuff, and then you go in there and you don't say half of what I even talk about because you're too much of a pansy to stand up for yourself and say, this is what you got to do, Your Honor. This is what the law says, and the judge says, look, just tell me your story. Don't tell me the law. I already know the law. Say, well, the courts get reversed all the time. That's why they have Court of Appeals. So I have a right to state the law. That's what lawyers do. I'm representing myself. That's what lawyers do. So I have a right to remind you of the law just in case so that you remember it. You guys are too scared to even do that, to tell the judge to do his job, which is insane to me. You guys are so petrified by fear. I mean, I've had several guys in the past couple weeks who will call me up and ask me, what about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? What about this? I told you where the law is and how to go look it up. Go look it up. Well, I'm just not sure. Guys will get panicked and they'll get scared and they'll think, oh, this legal system, I don't have it totally memorized, so I can't go and do what James showed me how to do. You get petrified and paralyzed, so you don't act on anything. And then you're like, James, I need to answer this. James, I need to answer that. James, I need to answer this. You know how to look it up yourself. We talked about this. I showed you how to look this stuff up yourself. What are you talking about? Go look it up yourself. It's right. It's there on the internet. I understand being traumatized by the courts. I was traumatized by it too. That didn't stop me though, because there was something greater going on. The risk of losing my daughter. So when I feel bad, or when I feel scared of the court system, or when I feel intimidated, I don't have one other damn choice to pick from. It's either I go through this court system that the mom dragged me into and fight for my right to my kid, or I quit. When I had my mentor who barely told me anything, I'm telling you guys literally 100 times the information that I told this guy, or this guy shared with me. When I go to him, I try and extract all that I can. It'd be overwhelming. I'd get lost in something. But I try, he showed me, here's where the rules are. Here's how to file a motion. Here's where to do this and that. And that was about it. Here's where the forms are. Here's how to file a motion. I didn't go, man, there's 5 documents here. Which ones do I need? Oh, let me call him. Or let me, hey, which ones do I need? What about this? I would go and actually read the documents and exert some time, energy, and effort to look at this stuff. That's part of the problem too. Guys want a microwave, push button, fast food, drive through solution, everything. You're going to have to put some time and work into this stuff. And if you have a consult with somebody like me who gives you all kinds of shortcuts, when you hit one little bump in the road with a shortcut, you're already way ahead of the game by knowing where to go and knowing how to do the stuff on your own better than the average person. You don't need to call me every time you see a word. I've had people call me and ask me, what does this mean? Go get a friggin' dictionary. Look it up on Google. Be kind of resourceful. See, I'm not here to babysit anybody. I'm here to give you weapons, just like a drill sergeant in the Army in boot camp. I'm here to give you weapons. I'm going to tell you everything you need to know, and then we can go through it a couple times and stuff like that. But I'm not going to run back and assemble your gun for you and tie your boots on for you and buckle your belt for you. Once you got the instructions to do that, and you got the blueprint, and you got some hints, and you got some resources, you're going to have to do some of this on your own. Or else you could be an ignorant fool like everybody else. Just follow the attorneys and pay. I've seen guys pay $100,000, $200,000 for attorneys. Once you get screwed after the first $5,000 retainer, why the hell do you ever hire an attorney again? And then I've seen guys go through 3 or 4 attorneys and they're all bad. And they're like, I need to find a good attorney. Have you not figured out yet that attorneys suck and the system sucks? That's like saying, all of these mob families keep sharing with me all these corrupt business practices. Which mafia family is doing stuff above board and legally so that I can get some business advice from them? Because I'm dealing with all of them in my city, and every block I go to, I'm trying to sell this product or whatever, and I keep running into mafia families, and I get bad advice from all of them. They're a criminal entity. The family law attorney bar association and the attorneys are they're a criminal entity. They're a bunch of idiots. Once you get, I've told people before, if you go to Midas and you get your brakes done and your brakes go out while you're driving and you go back and say the brakes went out, fix them, and they say we need another $800, you would not say, oh, okay, I'll pay full price again. But we do when it comes to all this stuff. You'll pay full price all over again for a loser to lose for you again, and then you wonder why the heck you ended up spending $300,000. And then I'll go on a father's rights page and say, why didn't you learn how to do it yourself without an attorney? There's thousands of guys who have done this before me and with my help and after. I see somebody say, yeah, I'm not using my attorney. It's pointless. It is pointless. That's all I ever talk about on here. I talk on here about what works. I have my winning court documents. I have consultations with people. At the end of the consultation, they'll say, can I really do this without an attorney? Why the hell are you asking me that? That's all I ever talk about. Why would you ask that? The only reason you ask that is because you are fearful and cowardly and you're letting your fears take over, and you need some affirmation over and over and over again, because when you grew up, mommy was there to pat you on the back and coax you all along, and you never got kicked out of the nest like an eagle does the eaglets. And yet it's time, if you had the gumption to have children, then you should have the gumption to fight for your children when they're being taken away. Like I said, the number one problem with fathers is that we're cowards, or we want to be coddled, or we need a bunch of affirmation before we attempt to do anything as a man. I'm trying to think, see why. Okay, I was trying to see the chat, and the chat disappeared. So I'm talking about 50-50. The other thing about 50-50 laws, they're saying 50 laws, everything's going to be. We already have good laws. The laws already say best interest of the child, you stupid non-English speaking jackass. And I'm mainly talking about the lawyers that try and pass laws like this, or the fathers' rights groups filled with guys. And 2 years, here comes another generation of guys. And then 2 years later, here comes another generation. And they're like, let's pass laws. And don't look back. They don't use any brains or balls to exert any energy and get off their ass and look back in the past and realize that hasn't worked for 60 years, maybe closer to 50. And I tell them what worked for me and show them my winning court orders, and they're like, no, we're going to change it this time. I could feel it. So they're going to use effeminate, woman-like feelings to determine that they're going to be the first one ever to change the system when countless fathers' rights groups have come and gone and died. And here I am still here helping guys win, but I don't know what I'm talking about. Your fear is your number one enemy. Number two enemy with these guys in fathers' rights groups is their stupid ego. If somebody knows what they're talking about, sit down and shut up and listen to them and learn something. If this is all about your ego and the photo op of you going to the legislature and passing laws because it's the first time you did something really significant in your life and you're loving the fame of it and stuff like that, you need to get the hell up out of there. So the 50-50 laws, the best interest of the child, what's the best interest of the child? 50-50. You can argue with the current laws. You don't need the words 50-50. You have the science, you have the data, you have psychologists, pastors, politicians, everybody out there saying children need fathers. You have psychologists telling married people to spend quality time with their kids while they're living with them. Anybody with half a brain can figure out the common sense argument that if psychologists are telling parents to spend quality time with their kids while they're living with them, how much more do we need to spend time with our kids when we're not living together and they've been traumatized by the divorce? But you guys never think of this stuff and never bring it up in court because you're caught up in the other side's stupid argument. Well, the father's domestic violence. And here you go off in the left field into their domain in their cesspool of bullcrap arguments, and you don't use common sense and say, Your Honor, the laws, you should be able to look at the law and read it and think for yourself. That's what I did. I didn't need a genius lawyer to sit there and tell me. The guy who mentored me, who was with Dads of America for like 25 years, he didn't even tell me some of this stuff, and I figured out on my own. If I look at the law and it says the best interest of the child, what's best for a child? Both parents. When we're separated, what's the best that we can do? It's 50-50. So I can make that argument, but nobody goes in there. They just go in and say, well, Your Honor, I'm asking for 50-50, and I'm a really nice guy, and I have great attendance at my job. And the law says, what role have you had doing parenting functions? What negative aspects does the mother have? She's mentally ill. She has emotional problems. She's suicidal. But your dumbass is too scared to even bring that up because your lawyer told you, oh, that'll make her look bad. That's what you're supposed to do in court. What the hell are you doing in court, in an adversarial courtroom, opposing the other side, giving oral argument and acting like I should never argue or attack? I ask people, where did you get that idea from? Oh, my mom's brother's cousin's sister said I shouldn't attack the mother. How much family law experience does she have? Oh, well, she did child support administratively through DCS one time. You guys don't have any friggin' damn common sense. You need to sit down and calm down when you're not rattled, when you're not in the middle of your PTSD triggered moment, and then think, what do I need to say and do in this case? Or get a consult with me and we can get your answers right there. But you got to have the balls to do this stuff. If you don't have the balls to actually fight for your kids, then quit now so you don't give yourself an ulcer, okay? But you're going to have years and years of torment because the mother is going to control you. I'd rather go through hell now and fight and give myself the best chance to get something fair than to give in and avoid the stress right now and sell myself out and surrender to a bad court order that will cause me torment until my kid is 18. What I'm saying, I tell people stuff like that and like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Why didn't you think of that before? That's common sense. Almost everything I talk about is common sense. So you look at the law. Remember, I'm saying 50-50 laws won't work, but we already got good laws that are 50-50 oriented. Because if it says the best interest of the child, it's easy to argue that that's 50-50. Like on my most popular video on YouTube is the number one argument for 50-50. I lay out some of that stuff. And it's my most popular video probably because it's like, oh my God, I can't believe he said that and it makes so much sense. It's frigging damn common sense that I'm talking about. Children need both parents. Children need an intact family. When the family's broken, it's just like skin cut on your flesh. You sew it up and mend it as best as possible. Now there's going to be a scar. It's not going to be like the original. section of that skin, but it's going to be better if you mend it all together as best as possible. Common sense. But nobody goes to court and ever says this stuff. And then people turn around and say, well, James, I was scared to say that because I didn't want to hurt the judge's feelings. And the judges stay brainwashed into thinking mothers get custody and dad get every other weekend. And you're not doing a damn thing in your own case to change the system. And then you want to whine and cry about it. And all the dads out there are being a bunch of punk-ass simps and not going in there and aggressively advocating for their position or for their kids. You're really fighting for your kids more than yourself. Because your kids need you. Your kids are vulnerable. They're just kids. The only person who's going to stand up to the alienating parent is you. If the other parent's an alienating parent and a child abuser, like 90% of moms are out there in family court, there's a lot of good down-to-earth moms, but that leads into my second point. The moms are creating fatherless families. And I'm sick and tired of watching, like, God, what is his name? That lawyer on YouTube, the black guy with the pretty smile, he's been, I think he's in LA. He's been a family law attorney for 20 years. Bald black guy. He gets on there for like 3 hours and talks. He'll throw in a little bit of, yeah, and sometimes moms withhold kids. No, that's the entire problem with families all across America. The fathers are gone because 95% of the time the moms push them out. Period. End of story. I've dealt with 20,000 cases, and I can count on one hand the number of dads who didn't want to be involved in their kid's life. And then I get some stupid moms on here saying, well, my kid's dad is a deadbeat. I'm not talking about your one case, dumbass. I'm talking about 20 years of doing this and 20,000 cases. Stop being a narcissist, emotionally triggered, easily triggered basket case, and tell me that the majority of cases, fathers walk away. When I've dealt with 20,000 cases, I can count on one hand the number of punks who are just as bad as any child molester or child abuser who walked away from their kid. Okay? If you dealt with 20,000 cases in 20 years of doing this, then go ahead and have a discussion with me. But those people on there, all you have is your one case and your one trauma and your one case. All you can talk about is your experience. Don't make any generalizations. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. And then if you lost in court, why are you up here telling me what it takes to win, how we're going to change the system? I've been dealing with fathers' rights groups for 20 years on top of dealing with the courts and judges and the system. I've been a paralegal with several attorneys. I was a legal assistant at the largest family law only firm in the entire upper 1/4 of the United States. The biggest family law only firm in Seattle is the biggest family law only firm in the entire upper left corner of the United States. From here to Minnesota, down to Utah and Northern California, okay? I don't know what state that would be in the middle, Nebraska or Kansas. That whole upper left corner. I know what the hell I'm talking about. If you can't figure that out, then you're stupid, and that's why you're losing. Stop being stupid. First of all, you got to stop being a coward. Second of all, you got to start having some common sense and step away from your triggered, traumatized, emotional basket case status and calm down and sit and read and look at the law. I talk in my videos all the time about it. All starts with the law. Start with the law. People will get emotionally triggered. Oh, the judge doesn't care about the law. Yeah, I know, because your dumbass didn't bring it up in court. Your lawyer didn't bring it up in court. Nobody is checking these judges. The judge is a referee on your case. So, if you know about any sport out there, basketball, football, baseball, whatever, coaches usually yell at a ref when they make a bad call. We go into court and we say, oh, you can't do that. All of a sudden, we go to family court, we stop being men. We stop being the same men we are when it comes to getting our brakes fixed. And we'll pay an attorney full price over and over and over and over again. While they keep losing and losing. And people watch my videos and say, well, that's impossible. That's too hard. I can't represent myself. I've never done this. Before I represented myself, I've never done this. Before you rode a bike for the first time, have you ever rode a bike before your first time? No. Did you do it? Yes. How did you do it? Somebody taught you some things about it? And then you got on and you did. Or you watched somebody ride a bike and watch how they did it, and then you did it. You drove a car for the first time. Went ice skating for the first time. Had sex for the first time. Nobody ever did anything for the first time and said, I can't do this because I've never done it before. You learn stuff by doing it. That's the dumbest excuse I've ever heard of. Well, I can't represent myself because I've never done this before. I was a warehouse worker who flunked out of college and mopped the floor with the mother's first attorney and with their second attorney, 17 years experience and 50 years experience. If you say you can't do it, it's because you're a coward and your kids aren't important to you. You don't give a damn about your kids. You care more about your feelings and your convenience. And I don't have 1 million followers. I don't have Judge Anthony type of followers, even though I get a testimonial once a week like he does. Maybe he keeps some testimonials a secret, but he sure loves getting up and shaking his rump whenever somebody wins and bragging about it, even though I'm finding out more and more that he has people go in and he'll say, play Mr. Nice Guy, don't get too aggressive. That's bull crap. There's another reason to not have much respect for him, because he's the ex-judge. He talks about how corrupt the system is. If anybody could say or do something about it, it would be a judge. But he doesn't want to do anything about it. I'm out there doing way more than he's doing to try and change the system, because he'd rather just sit at home and make money at $300 an hour. And I disagree with, he has some great information sometimes I see, but sometimes I disagree with him. But all this stuff about, see, Judge Anthony will say a whole bunch of stuff off the record that he says, don't say this in court, or he's not telling you to say something in court, but he'll talk about how crazy everything is and what a narcissist your ex is and all this other stuff. Why can't you go into court and say it when it counts? Everybody wants to dance around, and there's this big elephant in the room. The mother's lying. She's committed perjury. She's abusing the system. She's using domestic violence and playing victim like countless women do. And nobody wants to talk about that stuff. Even though if you get my packet defending a restraining or against restraining orders, I got countless quotes from attorneys and judges and 2 bar associations in California and Illinois. They said it's an epidemic that women lie about domestic violence protection orders. If entire bar associations from an entire state are saying that, I just had somebody I talked to in California. I told them, get that packet or find that quote yourself. You can do anything you want for free. My little $40 packet. It's amazing to me. I'll have people who spend $10, $20, $30, $100,000 on attorneys, and they'll get mad that I sell a packet for $40 saying I'm using people when they're down and out and low. I work my ass off to get this information. I'm giving you winning information that'll help you get back to your kids, and you're complaining that it's $40. There's something wrong with you. You don't go in court and ever fight and stand up for yourself and stand up to the corrupt judge. I mean, what do you think civil rights attorneys did for a while? What do you think attorneys advocating for women or rape victims did for a while? They had to stand up to the prejudices of the courts that didn't believe a rape victim or was discriminatory against people of color. All of a sudden, dads are the next biggest group to be discriminated against, and all of a sudden, we're a bunch of punk-ass little bitches and think we shouldn't have to fight for what's automatically our rights. Every other group in the history of the world who was discriminated against had to stand up. Who are you? Why are you so entitled that your punk ass, it needs to just sit back and everybody's supposed to bow down and cater to you? Oh, you poor little thing you're discriminated against? Well, let me fix the system for you like your mommy did. It's time to man up and go to war over your kids. And if I lose all my followers because of my tone, it's your dumb punk ass problem. because I won. I've had my daughter for 21 years. I'm sitting here giving people answers and information you're not going to get anywhere else. And what's people's number one problem? Well, you're chewing me out for being a punk ass bitch, and I want you to pick me up and spoon with me and cuddle with me. That's what they do at the fathers' rights meetings. So the fathers' rights movement that's accomplished nothing in 50 years, you're going to go off of what their MO is. Last time I went to a fathers' rights movement meeting, this guy said, I haven't seen my kid in a year. I said, do contempt. He said, I already did and I lost. How about you try another one? You're going to quit on your kid that easily? I mean, who does that? If your kid is kidnapped and you go searching for your kid one day, you say, I looked for them today, I'm going to quit. My gender is such a bunch of punk-ass little hypocrites. You would never do that. You would never have this MO in anything else in life. But because it's hard and the system's against you and your mommy isn't there to hug you and nobody's giving you male affirmation, it's time for you to act like a man and grow some balls. You were stupid like me. You had kids with a crazy woman. Own it. I was stupid. I heard a conviction in me telling me, don't hang out with this chick today. I didn't think I was going to mess around with her. I got her pregnant that day. I heard God tell me, don't go hang out with her, and I ignored it. That's my dumbass fault, and I can own it. I told you guys about a relationship I was just in, and I'm a father's rights advocate, and I got suckered by a child-abusing, pill-popping, mixing with alcohol, total hoe of a manipulating, extortionist, psycho witch. A total Jezebel. I got suckered by her sob story for a while. I lowered my standards too because I felt so bad for her. You guys may not believe this, but I have an empath side. If I didn't have an empath side, I'd have been done with this stuff back in 2001 when I started it. Because all the bull crap I get from people, oh, you're so mean and you're so this and that. And people before, when I was playing Mr. Nice Guy and trying to help people out nicely, they would drain the crap out of me and demand a bunch of free time from me. I don't have time for those simps and those punk-ass bitches who don't want to fight for their kids. If you get triggered or offended by me talking about this, then you probably are being a coward. If you're not triggered, then you know I'm talking about all these other guys that aren't fighting for their kids, and you'll take the gold nuggets out of what I'm saying. Like the best interest of the child statute. Okay? I didn't totally finish that point, but you have all kinds of statistics and data and all this other stuff. And if you look at my flow page link that's below this page, I have people who say in the comments, hey, I really need your help. And that's all they say. They're such an entitled, prissy little millennial-like mentality of a lazy bitch of a man that they just want me to come hunt them down. They don't leave any information for me to contact them. I'm not going to contact them because here I am like a dentist or doctor or whatever with all my contact information, and you're too lazy to move your mouse a little bit more to click on information or the bio or the description and look and see. If you have a toothache and you need a dentist, you say, hey, the best dentist in town. You wouldn't go on Google Maps or what's it called? You wouldn't go on Google Maps or God, what's it called? Or those places where you can make comments about people. You wouldn't go on there making comments and say, hey, reach out to me. You would find out how to get a hold of that dentist and hunt them down and get an appointment. How come you can't do that when your life with your kid is on the line? Because you're too lazy and shiftless and cowardly. And you're too entitled. You want somebody to come and scoop you up like mommy did when you were a baby. Because you've never learned to take initiative on your own. You just go through life. Let me just get through high school, get a job, have my wife take care of everything, have her take care of the bills. Oh, I'm going to screw her and have kids. And then now I got to fight for my kids. Oh, that's too hard. Somebody else fix it for me. Anyway, I do want to say how I'm sick and tired in so many videos where they talk about women and modern women and how they think dads are crap and men. I just saw a video today on TikTok. This guy had a bunch of women on, and he was particularly talking about black fathers. Women think that 3/4 of us black fathers are crap. Most black fathers want to be involved. And I know that from personal experience. And this goes for fathers all over. But the women are on there saying, well, there's so many absent dads and blah, blah, blah. Those same women are pushing the dads out of the kid's life. And I saw somebody say that women will lie. They would rather lie than be held accountable and checked and own what they're doing. That's so true. Most of these psychotic women in family court, they will push a dad out, then turn around and say that he's not involved in the kid's life. It's the curse of Eve for a woman in her nature to want to rule over a guy, so she controls and dominates him and dominates the kids, and that's the norm to them. Just like when Jackie Robinson came into the Major League Baseball, it was the norm to talk crap to black people. Or in Nazi Germany, to talk crap to Jews in Nazi Germany. You could do that and nobody would think anything of it because they think, oh, Jews are subhuman animals or black people are subhuman animals. But when they backtalk you, kind of like an abusive owner of a dog, you abuse your dog and talk crazy to your dog. When your dog snaps back, you get offended. Like, how dare you? They're just standing up for themselves. If Jackie Robinson would have spit back at a white baseball player, he'd have been banned from the league. He would have got the snot beat out of him. But he's just doing the same thing they did to them. But they're so oblivious to them doing it, and it doesn't, or a bully at school or whatever. Once they get beat up, they can't believe somebody beat the snot out of them. And all they're doing is bullying people. Same thing with these crazy women. They're used to dominating the guy, and it's normal for them to get custody and the dad not be involved. And then they say the dad's not involved or not around. I'm sick and tired of men advocates and fathers' rights, even like Andrew Tate or something. He'll mention, yeah, and then woman doesn't give the dad access, or they go to divorce court and they can't get access to kids. How did that happen? The mother went to court and fought against the dad being involved. Why don't people ever talk about that? It's insane to me. So let's see, I got a whole bunch of comments on here. Let me see if there's any questions. I've been following your advice. I just want to know if the judge... God, why does this stuff disappear? I have it pulled up because I don't understand why these smartphones aren't so smart. I've been following your advice. I want to know if the judge and... This thing's fading out while I'm trying to read it. Are trying to drag this out. Of course they're trying to drag it out. That's what they do for a living. Read your comments. Well, first of all, look, you have access to me if you have... Okay, so you said read my comments. There's like 20 comments from one person. I'm not here to listen to everybody's story, okay? I can't do that. Everybody sees me and say, oh, wow, James won. He's been through what I've been through. He can help me win. Let me try and get milk him for all the free information that I could possibly can. Let me tell my entire story. I don't got time for that. I got a few people who actually want to pay me for my valuable time that you would have to pay an attorney thousands of dollars for. I got stuff on my store that would cost thousands of dollars for an attorney to write. And people get mad that I'm not here for free to get milked for 1 million questions or to listen to your entire story. So if you feel entitled that I need to read your entire story when I'm on here doing a live chat and telling people to wake the hell up and 50-50 laws, stop worrying about 50-50 laws. And you know, the other thing about people will argue with me in the comments about 50-50 laws will do this. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. Your tone isn't good. You guys will go out of your way to argue with me. Why don't you have that same passion and energy in the courtroom when it comes to your life with your kids? See how stupid my gender is? You'll argue up and down with me about stuff you don't know what the hell you're talking about. You don't have a track record showing that you won one single thing in court. I have 6 court orders, or 1 transcript and 5 court orders in the link in my bio, a reversal in the Court of Appeals. A motion for discretionary review I won in the Court of Appeals, which is harder than an appeal. My first contempt motion I ever tried. And then people will tell me contempt doesn't work. You dumbass. I got a winning trophy showing I won the first contempt I did on my first try. And you're saying it doesn't work and you haven't even tried it. And what are you citing? Oh, my friend's brother's cousin's barber said it doesn't work. That punk ass little simp didn't even try to fight for his kid. Use some damn common sense and figure out who the hell you're talking to. Stop listening to every Joe Blow off of the street. If you have access to go to Michael Jordan's basketball camp and you want to be a decent Division I college basketball player and you're in high school and you got 2 years left, how do I get better to get a scholarship? Michael Jordan has a camp. This midget has a camp and he got cut from his middle school team. I think I'm going to Michael Jordan's camp because he has trophies and MVPs to prove that he knows what the hell he's talking about. This midget doesn't have anything except flashing lights, a bunch of headbands and wristbands, and all this cool stuff. All these attorneys have a cherrywood desk, a big law firm in downtown Seattle or LA or whatever, and you believe them because they have a power suit and tie. Just like a woman believes a used car salesman. You would get pissed if you're at your woman going to a used car dealership and buying a car. The salesman sounded like he knew what he was talking about. You would get pissed at her for doing that. Then you get mad at me when I say, you stupid jackass, why are you listening to an attorney who lost over and over and over and over again in your case, and now you're continuing to follow their lead? Why don't you grow some balls and act like you're the boss of the attorney, since you're paying the attorney $200 to $400 an hour? I had attorneys for a short period of time when I was worried about going to trial on my case. The second, I fired the first one. The second one, he let me write all the paperwork and tell him what to say in court. And I assembled trial. I got to show people a picture. When I was going to trial in that case, I had 5 notebooks that were this thick with 260 exhibits or something like that. I worked my ass off to get ready for trial. And then the mother quit after we served them 5 3-ring binders full of exhibits. And we were going to put her attorney on the stand because the attorney testified and made himself a witness. So I've done this, and I do this every day, all day long. If you're dealing with a mechanic and you don't know jack squat about cars, and the mechanic says you got this problem in your car, this problem in your car, and I'll come and show it to you, and you say, I think you're full of crap. Go figure it out on your own then. But if that mechanic fails you, and they say, okay, you need to pay another $1,500 for this transmission overhaul. We're going to go into the guts of the transmission and do it again. Your car got stuck in gear again. And then you go back and then it gets stuck in gear again, or it gets in neutral and you almost have an accident. You go back and they want you to pay full price. You would be an idiot to pay full price again. But you'll do that in family court. We need to wake the hell up. Stop being scared like a little bitch, because what's the worst case scenario? You already only have 2 hours of supervised visitation with your kids. If you go in there and say the mother's abusing the system, the Bar Association here in California says, if you're in California, or if you're in Illinois, or if you're in any state, this argument has won. I just had a guy say that he went in and fought off a protection order. He had a protection order for a year. The mother was trying to extend it. She had an easy case to what. Usually the women walk into those courtrooms and say, I already got a protection order. I just need to extend it because I'm scared. He shut it down and they threw it out. They did not extend it. He got my packet and a consult with me. People are so dumb and shiftless and lazy, you think, well, let me just ask a question in the comments, and then I'll have all the answers I need for my case that's going to last a year, and we're going to have trial for 3 days. Or people will text me and say, I just got a 5-minute question. I just need 5 minutes of your time for free. And I'm like, okay, if it's that quick, text me your question. How do I get ready for trial? You ever seen a trial on TV or in the movies? You ever seen the attorney stand up late at night going through books and evidence and stuff? And I'm supposed to answer in 5 minutes. The vast majority of dads, 99% of them, want to be in their kids' life in some capacity. Out of those guys who want to be in their lives, 95% of them want it done easily because they're a bunch of shiftless, lazy bums and punk sissy bitches who think that they should just go to court, and when the mother viciously attacks them, the court should go, oh, you're a great father. I can see it from here. You have to go on court and win the court over a total stranger. You don't automatically get to pass go and collect $200. You don't get a freebie in this life. When you're stupid enough to have kids with a crazy person, or sometimes you have kids with someone who seems normal, she gets postpartum and loses her mind, but 90% of the time there's red flags. There was red flags when I got suckered like a little simp and a bitch. I got played bad. Okay? I haven't even got into the trauma and stuff that comes with that. And check this out. Here I am still on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram giving you guys free game and free information and doing consults for 1/5 the cost of Judge Anthony, who's a sellout to one point. And people are still mad that they can't milk me for a bunch of free information, or people will send me a DM with 5 screenshots full of paragraphs. And just expect me to just start reading it, analyzing the case, and doing stuff for free. How many jobs do you do for free in your life? And I'm giving people answers to save their lives as kids. And then some stupid jackass, entitled pussy little diva with a welfare mentality that these women have, some guy says, well, we should have our rights to our kids. Okay, Mr. Know-It-All. Grow some balls and go research all your rights and go do it yourself. You don't need me then. But if you do need me and want to take my time and my valuable information of stuff that I obtained through blood, sweat, and tears, your punk ass needs to grow some balls and act like a man and realize if I'm going to take James's time and he's going to give me $10,000 worth of information in a few hours, I should probably pay him for that. I already gave you guys some free information on here. Take the best interest of the child, apply the science, apply logic, apply what psychologists say, and make an argument for 50-50 within the best interest of the child. I already have a free video that's on YouTube that you can watch anytime and download anytime, or save and go back and refresh. I have a $40 video on the rules of evidence, which is after you know the law, the most important thing you need to know to go to court is the rules of evidence, whether you have an attorney or not. And your dumbass attorney has never objected to anything inadmissible in court. Your attorney lets the mother say hearsay, lets the mother act like an expert witness, lets the mother testify to stuff she has no personal knowledge of. Your attorney just lets all that inadmissible evidence in, and then they railroad you. Never objecting once. And when the rules of evidence are violated, it's an unfair hearing because they're rules that are violated. It's not fair. When you have an unfair hearing, guess what? That means there's no due process. If you have no due process, then the judgment is void. So your attorney is allowing an unfair hearing and a ruling against you that should be wiped out because it was unfair. You know, some people have criminal cases overturned because of ineffective counsel, because there was prejudice by the jury or the judge or whatever. Your attorney just standing by and watching that. I have a video that's $40 that you can learn like 7 or 8 of the most important rules of evidence. The vast majority of people have never heard of any of them except irrelevant and hearsay. And even then, they don't know how to apply those. And here I am giving you all you need to know on that stuff to put your attorney in check or for you to be able to object in court. And the counters with that, it's like an hour and 20 minutes. And it's $40. And we're talking about the most important thing you need to know on how to conduct your own attorney or for your conduct your own case or to keep your attorney in check. And people are complaining that it's two $20 bills. And we're talking about your life with your kids. But you'll pay an attorney $10,000 to lose for you every month. Oh, I need another retainer, another 5, another 10. You're doing a great job losing for me. Let me give you some more. I totally trust you because you have a tie and you have a cherry wood desk and you're in a downtown high-rise building. So you must be telling me the truth, even though everything I'm seeing shows that you're not. And here I am. I stopped counting at 300 guys that I've helped get full custody. And I'm still seeing comments on TikTok and other places. Yeah, I've been watching your videos for a while. I got full custody. I got 50-50. Thank you so much. Never even talked to the guy. So there may be countless people out there. I don't know. I'm just going to be honest and go off. 300 doesn't sound like a lot, but it's 30 times more than your dumbass attorney ever got a guy. Did you even, if you want 50-50 with your kids, did you even ask your attorney how many times they got a guy 50-50? If you're about to have open heart surgery and the doctor looks really young, you're probably going to say, how many heart surgeries have you done now? If he says, well, I'm straight out of med school, you're my first, you might say, forget that. Wouldn't you? How the hell are you going to hire somebody with a $5,000 retainer and you have no clue as to their success rate? You're stupid. Stop being stupid. I got to call a spade a spade. Because if you don't correct the stupidity, or if you, I have some people say, you know what, James, I am just stupid, or I'm really bad at English, or I lose common sense when I'm doing this stuff. Sometimes I just have to get them, like I told you earlier, detach from the emotion. I have people who say, I'll sit there and say, what do your court orders give you for visitation? Oh, I don't know. This stuff is so overwhelming. How much time do you spend with your kids right now under the court order? I don't know. This stuff just overwhelms me. All I'm asking you, what time do you go pick up your kids this week, Friday? Oh, 5 p.m. after school. What time do you take them back? 5 p.m. on Sunday. Why couldn't you tell me that the first time? Because guys get so caught up in the emotion of the situation, and they're like, the system is so overwhelming. There's all this legal terminology. Get out of your feelings and stop acting like a female and sit here and answer my simple questions. Now, how I'm talking now is not how a consult usually goes. I'm talking about examples of guys who are just all over the map. Most guys who call me, they're ready to go. They might say, man, I'm tired of being a punk ass bitch. I'm tired of being a coward. I'm tired of not fighting and not standing up. I'm tired of being a sissy, or I'm tired of my lawyer. I've been lazy. I wanted somebody else to do it for me. I'm ready to fight for my kids. That's half the battle right there. I'm literally telling you the truth. The number one problem, the reason why guys are not in kids' lives is because women abuse the system against guys. But when the system uses and abuses you, the number one problem with that and how that happens is because guys are cowards and won't fight. Just think if every attorney and every dad went in there and said, how come you don't believe the science, Your Honor? You know, we went through COVID and people who didn't follow COVID protocols and all that other stuff, you know, everybody said, well, you need to believe the science. Right? People who question COVID or question wearing a mask and all that other stuff in the vaccination. Believe the science, and that you got persecuted for not believing the science. Tell the judges to believe the science. The science is clear. If kids don't have an equally involved father, if they have an equally involved father and he's not in the home full time, then the kids are still at a detriment. And you want to make it less than 50-50? What I just said right there, tell me the last time you went into court and said that to the judge. All the science says kids need both parents involved, or their brains won't develop properly, they won't emotionally develop properly, they'll be at risk for drugs, alcohol abuse, teenage pregnancy, dropping out of school, suicide, all that stuff. The science says that, Your Honor. If you don't give me 50-50, you are putting the child in danger. So if you're going to do that, you need to name a greater danger that there is by giving me 50-50. It's automatically dangerous. Why didn't you believe the science, Your Honor? I just had a guy go in court today, and the judge said, well, I'm not going to give you more time because that would be unfair to the mom. The mom this, the mom that. She was catering to the mom. The judge's allegiance is to the child. That's another argument. When was the last time you or your attorney said that in court? And if you don't want to say it, then quit. Admit you're a punk-ass, cowardly bitch who can't stand up for your rights and your kid, and you don't love your kids. Because if you loved your kids, you'd love your kids more than your feelings in court. Okay? You would love your kids more than the inconvenience of you fighting. Okay? Dang it. I might have to get off here. Now I'm starting to get spam bullcrap on here. These little kids in their mom's basement. Okay, cool. You have to call this what it is. Because everybody wants to dance around. Oh, the system this, the mother this, the mother that. Grow some balls and start to fight now. If you don't do that, it's over. You're going to lose. I have to tell this to people 10 different ways. And then when they say, well, we need 50-50 laws before I have a chance to win. No, go and argue the law the way it is now. Get on the offensive now. Thanks for your passion. You speak the truth. Thank you. I'm glad I found this channel, man. Thanks for all your content. Jezebel, spot on. Yeah. Attorneys lose on purpose. I think they're a bunch of incompetent little cowardly bitches. And so when they lose on purpose, when the attorneys lose on purpose, it's when they go to mediation or they tell you, let's not go to court and fight. They don't even, if they're losing on purpose, they're not even going to court. And they convince you to give them $5,000 to bill against for every email, every phone call, every little move, getting up and going to the bathroom at the law office, going down the hall to tell the slow legal assistant, hurry up, I need that file that you've been sitting on and been dilly-dallying around. And when I worked at a family law firm, I looked over in a different cubicle. We would have a team of a head attorney, associate. This is McKinley Irvin in Seattle. So any of you dummies who have McKinley Irvin, this is what a bunch of punk cells they are. Sands McKinley, who ran McKinley Irvin, told us, you better be billing a client at least 7.5 hours out of the 8 hours you're here. If you think about a client, you better bill them. He also said, I'm going to get to a point where I only want to do divorces with $1 million in assets. Number one, because those are more fun. Number two, those people pay. How is this possibly even fun? You got to be effed up in the head to say this is fun. We're dealing with a rescue mission for kids' lives. And you're a punk ass little man disease. He's like a foot tall, a foot shorter than Rita Herrera Irvin, who I like. She's a nice lady. But the guy who founded the thing, Sands McKinley's a punk ass bitch. All he cares about is money. That's all they do care about, and that's fine. But provide a service that balances. Anyway, when I'm there, I'm sitting there working and slaving away and working my butt off doing stuff. And I look over and there's a guy 10 years older than me. He's going all slow and going like this. Guess what? They're billing whatever client, let's say that's Bob Jones. They're working on Bob Jones' case. I'm working on Jimmy Williams' case. Jimmy Williams is getting his bang for his buck, even though it's still a ripoff, $300 or $400 an hour. But Bob over here is getting a paralegal or a legal assistant working twice as long as me. So he's getting double billed because this slow ass old dude is taking his sweet time. That's the dangers of dealing with an attorney. You can't watch and see what they're doing. You fire an attorney and then you say, hey, you're fired. Okay, where's my bill? They'll go and like, there's $1,000 left in your trust. They'll go and like try and scramble and try and bill for that. But attorneys will lose on purpose by not even going to court. They may go to court to one time to pretend and make it look like they want to fight. Then they go to court. They give a half-ass effort in court. Well, Your Honor, would you please consider allowing my client to be considered a normal human being and an equal father and get every other weekend, which is equality? I mean, think about Brown versus Board of Education. Separate but equal schools and water fountains and restaurants is not equal. Or cabooses on a train or seats on a bus. Separate but equal is not equal. How is a separate period of time of every other weekend equal between the parents? How does that meet the needs of the child? That's bullcrap. So anyway, I forgot where I was going with that. I could talk all day about anything and whatever, but if you need help, get an appointment. It's not that hard to figure out. If I had a James Christensen, like with the knowledge that I have right now, back in 2001, my 7-month court battle would have been 2 months, 3 months at the most. Oh, look, I just got on a... How long did your process take? 7 months. But it depends on which process you're talking about, because I went to court. Maybe I should do a video with my story. I talk about it all the time, so maybe you haven't seen all my videos. But if you're trying to milk me for free information, you're complaining that I'm not answering questions for free on here. I have countless guys who say, I won in court, I watched all your videos. So you can do this on your own if you're willing to watch all my videos, learn, take notes, do this stuff, go to court and observe a court hearing, do the legal research, figure all this stuff out on your own if you got all the time. If you're not going to do stuff like that, then get an appointment. Don't expect me to come on a live one time like, oh, I got James. Let me ask all the questions in the world that I can ask him right now for free so I can get what I want. If you don't got $60, I'm sorry. I can't help you. If you got $60 and you want some help and you care about your kids, then I don't know, what's that? You're going to skip 6 lattes this week or, pay your phone bill a little bit late or something, Your life with your kids is worth it. So my process, the mother went to get a restraining order. an anti-harassment order. She tried 7 times over the course of about 10 years for restraining orders. I won against all of them. I won against a restraining order against another ex, and then 3 against another ex. This last time, I got a protection order against this toxic chick I dated, and then she retaliated, tried to get her own. She filed 3 different cases. And I won all. She got 2 dismissed, and we had a final hearing on the 3rd, and I made her look stupid. So I went to court for about a month over the restraining order stuff. We had 2 court hearings. Then we had family court. I got 0 visitation. I did a motion for revision, went to a judge. That got continued. Then I got 5 days a week with my 2-month-old daughter. Took me 2 months to get visitation. I got it on my own. Goldberg and Jones in Seattle, divorce lawyers for men, said I get every other weekend. I told them, screw you. I work at night. I can be my daughter's daycare. I got 5 days a week. Then I got the mother found in contempt. Then the mother got sick and tired of getting the snot beat out of her and surrendered and settled on me having custody. Then a year later, she objected to me. She lived in California by then. I lived in Seattle. Then she objected to me moving from Seattle to Tacoma, which is 30 miles. We were in court for a year and a half, and I had to go to the Court of Appeals on discretionary review to fix a bad ruling, and then she withdrew her case. I was ready to go to trial. And then I've been in and out of court for contempt hearings and stuff like that. One time there was a contempt hearing. I didn't get served paperwork, and I got thrown in jail because I was a no-show. I was in jail for 8 days. I filed a lawsuit in federal court that I haven't followed up on for the judge violating my rights and the mother and her attorney doing the same. I've been in and out of court for 20 years. The last time I went to court for college tuition child support. My judge said that the mother doesn't have to pay because he bent over backwards for it. Now, one of the last things I wrote in court was that you, the judge, and the mother's attorney, who looks like a white trash version of Herman Munster, and I said that to him in an email, and all you guys are scared to even email an attorney outside. Oh, that'll be used against me. What does a hostile email toward a hostile attorney who's personally attacking you have to do with your parenting ability? Now, you don't want to give them information or whatever, but you guys are scared to even stand up to the attorney firmly and cite the law. This guy, he called me fat, ugly, cue ball, bald head with a face that could stop a clock. I'm like, you look like a white trash version of Herman Munster. You look like a crypt keeper. What are you talking about? And he was saying stuff just to provoke me. So I told the judge, you and the mother's attorney are trying to tag team me. How are you doing that? Or why are you doing that? Because you hate me. Why do you hate me? I finally figured it out. I date really pretty women, and you both have hideously ugly wives. I wrote that in a brief, in an argument in court, a response to a motion. What happened to me? Did I go to jail for that? Did I get sanctioned? Did I get punished? Nope. I lived. All he said in court was like, oh, Mr. Christensen made fun of our wives or said something about our wives. And that was that. See, you guys are paranoid of nothing. You're afraid of the boogeyman. You guys most of your fears look as ridiculous as a child afraid of the boogeyman or something under their bed because they saw a movie. You saw a movie somewhere, you heard some fictional story from some nobody who doesn't know what the hell they're talking about, and you just blindly trust any idiot off the street to tell you the truth about family court, and they don't know what the hell they're talking about, and you run your life and your war that you're engaged in, you run your life, your strategy, your MO for fighting for your kids based off of what some stupid jackass said who doesn't know what the hell they're talking about. Somebody on YouTube. There's a guy on YouTube who's like a men's advocate guy. Maybe he's a wannabe Kevin Samuels or wannabe Andrew Tate. He has kind of long hair. The guy got screwed in family court, and he's telling people, when you go to family court, it's really difficult. You got to get a lawyer. And there's a guy in the comments that says, I did fine without a lawyer after I fired my lawyer. And he got on there and said, this is stupid advice. I said, you punk ass sellout to dads everywhere. I've helped thousands of guys win without a lawyer. You lost, and you're telling people to follow the strategy that caused you to lose. See how insane my gender is? You see why I am so passionate the way that I am? There's a bunch of sellouts everywhere. I mean, just think about, like, Malcolm X got in trouble because he would talk about even, like, Martin Luther King being too soft, or other people being sellouts around him, or white liberals pretending to care about black people and they don't. He made a lot of enemies, supposedly within the camp that was for civil rights. He called out the fakes and phonies, and that's what I'm doing. There's a bunch of fakes and phonies and ignorant idiots who don't know what the hell they're talking about, who stand up and talk like experts. I've seen people say, well, there's a law that says this and a law that says that. Did you even read it? Did you even pay? I was in a father's rights group, and I've told this story before. This dad said, I don't want to give my daughter over to the mom because her boyfriend molests her. This was an Idaho father's rights group. Some guy got on there and said, you got to give your kid back. You could be in trouble with the law. First of all, I'm risking going to jail to protect my child from a molester, you punk ass bitch. And I'm putting it nicely when I say that, because these subhuman piece of garbage, stupid losers who lost in court are creating fathers' rights groups and giving people bad legal advice that sabotages their case. And this dumbass in Idaho, I think it was the fathers' rights movement group in Idaho, he tells the dad, you better give your kid over to the molester because you could get in trouble with the law. God, what a subhuman piece of garbage. That guy should get the snot beat out of him just for saying that. So I said, what the hell are you talking about? What law? I told him I wouldn't give my kid back. So I asked the guy, what law? I said, cite the law to me right now. It took him 30 minutes to go find the law that he had heard somewhere. So he gives me the link to the law. Guess what I did? Unlike most of you guys would say, oh, okay, you're right. I clicked on the law and I read it. This is what you have to do. I don't know why my gender is such a bunch of dumbass, dumbed down, retarded idiots. My sister, who actually has Down syndrome, has more common sense than half the guys that I encounter out there. And I say this because the answer is, if you grow some balls and stop being scared and use some damn common sense and exert some effort to read stuff instead of just look at it and like, oh, that makes sense. Let me say that in court, and you forget it because you didn't read and study it. If you do those simple things, you will turn your case around most likely. It's no guarantee, but the guarantee is if you keep going the loser route that you're going, you will continue to lose. I'm telling you, it's simple. Grow some balls. Go in whether you're afraid or not. After 20 years of being in court, I was nervous going in court on my last hearing in 20 years. The brave guys are scared, but they go anyway. I'm trying to tell you to go for it. You got nothing to lose. You don't have any visitation with your kid. If you got every other weekend, that's nothing. What have you got to lose? Get on the offensive. The way that you win is by getting on the offensive and wearing the other side down until they surrender usually. If you get on the offensive, you get the best chance to get something fair. I've known this for 20 years, and your punk ass is saying, oh, I don't know. It's just so hard. My baby's mom is so mean to me. Go and quit and be a bitch like everybody else then, and don't be involved in your kid's life. And I'm not going to reach everybody either. I'm going to wake one or two guys up out of 1,000 guys watching, and then they're going to call me. And I'm going to make enough money to barely get by while some punk-ass losers spend $100,000 on an attorney and complain that I charge $40 for materials on my store and $60 for a consult, when I really should be charging like at least half of what Judge Anthony does. I guarantee I'm telling people the same amount or more than Judge Anthony, so he shouldn't be charging $300 an hour. He should be charging maybe $100, $150. I've had people tell me you should be charging way more. Then people will respect you more. But I'm trying to make it affordable for people. I still got punk-ass welfare mentality, effeminate simps, whether they're 6'4" and 300 pounds or 5'2" and $120. You're a punk-ass bitch at heart if you can't fight for your kid. Now, this father's rights group, this dad says, I'm afraid to give my kid over. The baby's mom, her boyfriend is molesting my daughter. Father's rights group member says, don't do that. You'll get in trouble with the law. Stupid punk ass sellout. God, I wish I could have seen that guy in person. I said, where's the law that says that? Because I have some damn common sense. You're telling me that you'll get in trouble with the law, so show me the law. Some of you guys don't have enough common sense that you'll let the judge say, well, the law says this, or you'll let a cop say, well, the law says this, let us into your house. Well, the law says I don't need a warrant. Bull crap. Demand somebody to tell you what the law is. You don't even have to know the law yourself. Just demand them to tell you what it is. Know your rights. Nobody has to come in your house. CPS doesn't have to come in your house. The cops don't have to come in your house unless they have a warrant. If they have an exception to the law, tell them to tell you what the exception is. The Federal Way Police in Federal Way, Washington, where I'm nearby, I had a client there. They were telling me, well, the father has to give up the kid because he's accused of this and that. We have a policy. I'm like, that your policy is unconstitutional. And he goes, well, it's in the law. What law? And he goes, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not going to talk to you. So he hung up on me. So he pulled it out of his rear that it's somewhere in the law that you can take kids away from a father who's fit and has a court order. Anyway, back to the point. So the father's rights movement guy who supposedly knows his crap, he said, James, here's the law. And at the beginning of the law, it says, if you withhold a child from somebody, you can go to jail. But if you had the balls and courage to get off your lazy ass and move your eyes down about 15 degrees and read 3 more sentences, the fourth sentence in that law says, unless you're withholding a child to protect the child's welfare. Boom! So the guy who was giving this dad bad legal advice told him, give your kid over to a child molesting boyfriend that lives with your baby's mom, because you will get in trouble with the law. What law is that? It's the law that says you go to jail for withholding a child unless you're doing it to protect the child. So the very law that he cited as a basis to tell the guy, give your kid over to a child molester and risk her safety, that same law that he said is the reason that he's telling that, the same law that will get you in trouble for withholding your child, that law says you can withhold your child for the child's safety. That's the father's rights movement for you. That's enraging. That's why this stuff pisses me off. Because I'm sitting here, somebody who won over and over. I show you my winning court orders. Dads are too much of a bunch of punk-ass lazy cowards to click on a mouse and look at my winning orders to know that I know what I'm talking about. They blindly trust an attorney or a father's rights movement punk-ass, limp-wristed, cowardly little simp who has bad legal advice, or you won't even read the law yourself, and you'll follow the advice of somebody who says, let your daughter get molested. That's enraging. And people get mad that I get mad about that. I'm supposed to follow the status quo. I'm supposed to follow the lead. I'm supposed to be a sheep and a punk-ass bitch and listen to what anybody says because they sound good. Again, you hypocrites out there, you dads would get mad at your wife or girlfriend if she bought a car with your shared bank account because the used car salesman sounded like he knew what he was talking about. Your dumb, hypocritical ass is doing the same thing with an attorney, with the father's rights movement, dumbass idiots who are a bunch of losers. Now, they're not losers as human beings, but they lost in court over and over, and they're forming a group. And so a bunch of losers who lost in court form a group and are giving advice to people on how to win in court, and they've never won. Think about the worst sports team in your favorite sport. I mean, growing up in the 80s, the San Diego Clippers were notorious for having a superstar and drafting a great player and then let him go, and they sucked the next year, then they drafted a good player and they let him go. They were like a farm club team for all the other teams. I think Elgin Baylor was the general manager all that time. Now, would people go to Elgin Baylor for advice on how to build a franchise, or would they go to Jerry Krause? Or go to the Lakers or Red Auerbach? It's so amazing that guys are so thirsty and desperate for answers that they will listen to anybody who tells them anything that sounds one little minutia more than what you know. Oh, I did a contempt motion before, so it didn't work for me. So don't do contempt. Just wait until trial. Oh yeah, that sounds great. I did a contempt motion on my first try, and I was representing myself. I still didn't know what the hell I was doing, and I'm sick and tired of punk-ass cowards saying I don't know what I'm doing. I didn't know what I was doing either, and I kicked butt. You know why? Because I had my mind made up that I was a beta male most of my life. I had my mind made up that I'm fighting for my daughter, and I'm gonna, every time I find a motion or a method of discovery or an appeal or whatever, I'm going to use that until I get equality. I started off with 50-50, then I changed my mind. I'm like, wait a minute, let me wake the hell up. That mother's crazy. I should have custody. And then she came to court. He has the audacity to want the kid every single day and blah, blah, blah. And then I made her look stupid. But you guys are scared to even try anything, so you never provoke the mother to say anything stupid because you're sitting back in a cowardly position, backtracking on the battlefield. Let's back up and let's not fire, and maybe the Taliban is going to throw up the white flag. This stuff is common sense. Grow some balls, use some damn common sense, and then separate yourself from the emotion of the situation. Stop making decisions emotionally. Oh, the court's so overwhelming. Oh, this legal terminology. I don't understand it. What? Read a piece of paper, a motion or a brief or something that's part of the mandatory forms. Read a motion that your attorney wrote. And look at all the words on there. 90% of the words are plain English. The stuff that you don't understand might be a little thing that you can actually look up the definition of and figure out. You're so easily punked like a little bitch that you will quit on your case because a word is too complex for you to understand. So it's like you just want to have an excuse to quit because you're so triggered and traumatized. What if the guys who stormed Normandy Beach were a punk ass bitch like you? Oh my God, there's Hitler's men. Now, that's an extreme example. War is hell. Everybody's going to be afraid going into war, but they had to do it. They had to stop Hitler. And there's a bunch of debates whether, all legitimacy of war. I get all that stuff, but let's just say the story is what it is, what we know it to be. Men had to go in there, and half of them were going to die, and they knew it. And you get in survival mode, and you move forward so that everybody doesn't turn into a lampshade and Hitler doesn't take over the world, okay? Somebody's got to do it. Your life with your kid is at stake. Is the mother going to serve you up 50-50? No. So you're at war with the mother. She's a child abuser. Stop being a punk-ass bitch, little whipped, little sissy who's afraid to commit blasphemy and call the child abuser a child abuser. If somebody who was a total stranger was beating your kids or kidnapped your kids and kept your kids at their house, or was doing, if you had your kids went to a sleepover, and the dad and that mom at that house were having sex and let your kids sleep in the bed when they're having sex, you wouldn't tolerate that. You'd never let them over. Why do you let the mother continue to have custody and not bring that up in court? Oh, that's blasphemy. You can't talk about the mother's personal life. Yes, you can when it has to do with the kids. Use some damn common sense. The mother can do whatever she wants on her own time. But you can't allow some violent felon or into the house, and you can't be having sex with the kid in the bed. That's not good for our 5-year-old or our 7-year-old. Use some damn common sense and stop giving in to the radical feminist idea that you can't stand up to a woman. If you want to go that route, I'm not going to make you do anything. I'm not going to make anybody do anything. I'm telling people what the answer is, and I'm trying to unbrainwash you out of being your own worst enemy. You are your number one worst enemy, because 50% of the guys who grow some balls and get on the offensive, their case is over within a month. Because guys who've been a punk ass bitch for a year on their case, and the mothers railroaded them and steamrolled them and punked them and scared them and got them to sign off on some bullcrap. Once they start getting on the offensive, the mothers don't know what to do with themselves. Just like a bully at school. Once you stand up to the bully, they don't know what to do with themselves. Now, half the bullies out there are going to want to fight you. And you might get a bloody nose, but they're not going to want to fight you every single day for your lunch money when they're used to getting it easily. So then 80% of the cases, the guys who grow some balls and stand up usually get a good result or better result when they stand up. And then about 20% of the cases, the mom wants to go to war, go all the way to trial and stuff like that. And then about 5 or 10% of the cases, the guys do get screwed in the end. But 90% of the cases, the guys who are doing what you're going to do get royally screwed. I'm not pretending that everything is a happy ending here, but I'm telling you, you keep doing the stupid thing that you're doing right now, quitting, crying, whining, giving in to the mother, not talking bad about the mother, being nice to the mother, trying to win nice brownie points with the court, when that doesn't say anywhere in the law, whoever's the nicest in the court hearing, whoever talks nicest to the opposing attorney gets custody. Does it say that? No. So then you could tell the court, Your Honor, why are you worried about the way me and the attorney were talking in the court hallway or in letters? Where's the law that says that's a factor? You have to determine whether I have an anger management problem, domestic violence, drugs, and all the stuff the mother's accusing me of. There's no evidence of it. There's no expert testimony. So why are you even considering that? You have to presume under Troxel versus Granville, You know that Supreme Court case, United States Supreme Court case, Troxel versus Granville, you don't know about it? Well, if you've been watching my videos, I tell people to go to my flow page link, and in a section it says, must see for dads. Now, if I'm an expert at this stuff because I've won over and over, and I got full custody of a white man got full custody of his biracial girl daughter when she was 7 months old. If I did that, you ought to give it a chance to listen to a few things that I have to say. And when I say this free stuff, which you have no risk of losing anything on except a little bit of time, this free stuff in my flow page link will tell you stuff that you need to hear. And one of the free things there is the link to Troxel versus Granville. You need to know that because you can go to court and say, you have to assume I'm a fit parent acting in the best interest of the children. If you haven't found that I'm a danger to the children, then I'm a fit parent. Give me fit parent 50-50, you dumbass. Now you can keep the dumbass part out, but give me 50-50. Bam. I just gave you some free game on some oral argument. So sometimes it's better when it's dragged out. You have more chance to expose the female. Yeah, but also you have a little bit of leverage because they're going to get worn down and tired of fighting. Guys usually surrender after they've been worn down and got tired of fighting. That's what the system banks on, as men being brainwashed, being brainwashed. Judges know how to reap when you stand up and say enough. It says reaping there. I don't know what you mean by that. Judges don't know how to reaping or probably respond when you stand up and say enough. I mean, they could shut you down because they're God in that courtroom, but you still got to stand up to them. And if you're going to appeal, you have to have your objections on the record. If you don't object or don't cite the law on the record and you try and appeal later, they might say you never brought that up on the record, so you don't appeal. Another reason for you to just grow some balls and stand up when it's time to go to court. I've been following your advice. I just want to know if the judge and lawyer are trying to drag this out. I have no idea. I can't read the minds of the judge and the lawyer in your case. But it's like judges want you to settle out of court. They don't want to have to do work. Lawyers want to make as much money as possible. Usually that means milking it and dragging out and going to mediation. Watch my video on mediation. It's a scam. When you go and sit down in mediation, the attorney just sits there and twiddles their thumbs. They don't have to prepare for mediation. They don't have to do blood, sweat, and tears and study and memorize the law and study your exhibits and put an exhibit notebook together. They don't got to stay up sleepless nights. They just show up to mediation. There's a guy named David Kontos, Kontos. He used to show up at his law office in Kent, Washington, Kent. He used to show up at his law office and walk in and say, what am I doing today? He never went home and studied. He never did anything. He could waltz into court and bamboozle everybody into thinking that he prepared for the hearing. He's a pro tem commissioner or a substitute judge for family court. He got caught having sex at the courthouse, so they banned him. Now he's back doing it again. And some people say he's a cocaine addict. He had one client that he gave free services as long as she gave sex to him. Then she became his legal secretary and drove all the other paralegals out of there. And I talked to a couple of them. So I told the judge it's my constitutional right and I'm demanding 50-50. Well, it's not your constitutional right to 50-50. Your constitutional right is the government can't interfere. That's where, if you read Troxel versus Granville, the government can't interfere with your parental rights and your autonomy with the kids. So you have to make an argument that less than 50-50 is disrupting your autonomy. But really, Troxel versus Granville really says the government shouldn't be involved in making decisions, period. But you got to have a court order or else you don't get anything enforceable. I only get 4 visits on Sunday. I don't know what that means. You go and visit the kid and then drop the kid off and come back Sunday at noon and then Sunday in the afternoon and Sunday at night. I'm being patient, but the judge is making us appear once a month and slowly giving me more and more time, although I'm asked for 50-50. Okay, well, that's good. You're on your way. Are you doing discovery? You should be doing discovery. If they're giving you more time, why don't you argue? If you're giving me, now that you've given me all day Sunday, the mother only wanted me to have 1 hour supervised. Now I'm unsupervised. When we were together, I was doing unsupervised. I stayed the night. I was there. What's the difference? Make them prove it. Flip it around. How come they don't have to prove that I'm unfit and you're acting like I'm a monster, I'm a felon? There's felons in jail who see their kids more than me. How are you going to, why are you depriving the child of a basic life need? What's the finding? Watch my video on findings of facts. They have to make findings. Demand them to say findings. You can't just throw out, oh, it's my constitutional right. I threw that out one time and the judge said, what constitutional right? And I had to cite the constitutional case law that I had handy and tell her because they're stupid. Okay, well, that's like doing online classes. Everyone can't learn that way. Someone needs to contact to contact. Everyone isn't book smart. Obviously, people are reaching out because they need advice. I don't know what you're talking about. If you're talking about my comment that you can't get all that you need out of just comments in the comments, that's what an appointment is for. I'm talking about people who don't want to get an appointment and don't want to pay $60 for an hour's worth of information. Every single person I've ever talked to said they learned more in an hour from me than what they learned from their attorney for 6 months, a year. Sometimes people said all my attorneys combined, I learned more in an hour or two. So obviously the best way to learn stuff for your specific case is to talk to me and tell me details of your case. I can't sit down and read a DM or comments because if you start talking in a DM and start typing stuff, I'm not going to answer what you're typing because that's not what I need to know. I need to ask you specific questions. And when you answer those questions, then we can talk about stuff directly. If you write back and forth emails with a doctor, you may get stuff lost in translation and they might miss something. It's better to talk to them in person. That's why doctors, dentists, lawyers, psychologists talk to people in person other than just comments. Some people want to talk for free in DMs and comments all the time. That's stupid. If you need help and you don't know what you're doing and you care about your kids, get some help. Stop trying to do this charity work case. This is not a charity. Even though I've already given you guys $50,000, I've added up before, $50,000 worth of free information on all my Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube videos. You could go through all of them and you could get full custody like some guys have done and testified to or said in the comments. One guy said on a podcast in Europe, a guy in Chicago on a podcast in Europe that I got tagged in said, I followed you to the podcaster and I followed that guy how I got custody. I watched all his videos and I went to a court hearing and I got full custody of my 2 kids. So it is possible. But you would have to spend all your waking hours doing all the research and all this other stuff like I did at the beginning of my case. So I've done a lot of the hard work. This is how life works. If you want to learn how to do something, you usually have to pay somebody who's an expert in it. You don't just send them a DM and say, hey, give me all the information that you know. First of all, since you don't know what you're doing, this is why some people need to humble themselves. I don't know if this person is being arrogant or they're misinterpreting what I'm saying. But okay, well, that's like doing online classes. Everyone can't learn that way. I'm not offering online classes, even though I have a video on, you can get that. But some things you can get to supplement what we're talking. There's nothing that beats a one-on-one consultation with me. That's what I'm saying. And you're attacking me and saying, oh, well, these guys want to DM you and send comments. That's a stupid, inefficient, slow way of getting nowhere fast. I don't have time to answer people's questions when they have typos and when they're talking about stuff that's way off in left field. They need to know what the statutes are in their state. And they're talking about the Constitution, and they're talking about this psychologist theory over there in Brazil, and all this. No, we need to talk about this and that. I need to hone it down. The only way to do that is in a one-on-one consultation. Hopefully you get that now. This is common sense stuff that I have to tell people. You do it with a doctor, a dentist, a lawyer, a psychologist, a pastor, a counselor. You don't only meet with those people via DM and comments. You meet in person. And I'm trying to tell people it's worth it, get an appointment. And you're sitting here saying, well, people don't want to just do an online class. That's what I'm saying. Get an appointment. I don't know. I don't know. If you have some balls and you want to fight for your kid, I've had people call me up and say, I saw one of your videos. I need to talk to you now. I had a guy, he was doing a contempt motion in Georgia. He called me up and said, dude, I watched one of your videos. You're the man I need to talk to. I need to talk to you now. Please, now, please. I think I couldn't get to him till like 5 o'clock. It was 11 o'clock West Coast time, 2 a.m. Georgia time. He had a contempt hearing the next day. He's facing an attorney with 30 years experience. He fired his attorney. After he talked with me, he got makeup time. He missed like 4 months every other weekend. The judge ordered next 4 months, you're getting every weekend for makeup time. He told the mother, go negotiate a new plan for him to have increased visitation, or I'm throwing you in jail for 21 days. And they denied her attorney fee request, and they sanctioned her. He killed it. But you know what? He had the balls and initiative and the damn common sense to say, I need to talk to this guy. Let me get on the phone. People in here in the comments want to dance around and comment and DM and message me and want me to use mental telepathy to figure out what the hell they're talking about. The best way, if you actually care about your case, you will show it. You won't argue with me over why you should be able to milk me for free information in DMs and comments. You won't argue with me, well, online, or whatever that person would say, online classes or whatever. And I know I'm offending people, and you know that I'm telling the truth, because if I was an ass kisser and I was only here for money, I wouldn't talk like this. But I need to talk like this to wake my slothful, lazy, dumb, stupid, non-common sense having gender the hell up. Wake the hell up. Use some freaking common sense. You are totally lost in your case. You're losing your life with your kids. James won and killed attorneys. He's helped hundreds of guys get full custody. He's helped thousands more after they fired their attorney do better and get more time with their kids. Maybe I should call James. But then I got dumbasses here sitting there arguing why they should do everything else except call me. That's stupid. The more I think about it, the more I talk about it, try and say it a nice way of doing it, the more stupid you sound. And if you don't want to talk to me, that's fine. Go talk to Judge Anthony for $300 an hour and see if his Mr. Nice Guy philosophy works for you. It may work. It's worked for some people. I can't be fake and phony on here. I can't try and hustle you and say, when I talk to people, when I do a consultation, sometimes people are like, oh, well, you know, in high school, me and my baby's mom, we were sweethearts. And our favorite bubble gum was strawberry. And we used to go to 7-Eleven and get these. And then she promised me if we ever had kids. I don't need to hear all that. What's your court orders right now? And people insist on telling me their whole history because they're emotional and they think they know what they need to tell me. And I could easily be rich doing this stuff if I was fake, phony, or trying to hustle you like Judge Anthony's trying to do most people. And just let you talk and put it on mute because you'll talk for 40 minutes about stuff I don't even need to hear. I literally had to have this conversation. I had to cut somebody off about 10 times that I don't need that answer. I know I need this. Well, let me tell you the background on that. I don't need the background. I've been doing this 20 years. I've heard people tell me the background a million times. It's never helped or worked. Just tell me the answer to this question. And then we get right to the answer that they need. I'm not a counselor. I'm not a pastor. I'm not somebody to vent and a scapegoat to dump all of your pain and all that energy onto because you need to vent. Go do that with a counselor or whatever. If you want answers to help fight, call me up and let's go. The guys who end up doing the best are decisive. You make a decision, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, so I'm going to call James, and even if I don't know, I'm going to learn as I go. I didn't know anything that I was doing when I did this. I did it wrong when I first filed. Totally wrong. I almost missed my window. I told you I got 0 visitation, then I appealed to a judge. It's called a motion for revision of a commissioner's ruling. I went to a family law commissioner in Seattle, went to a judge. Took me 2.5 months. Restraining order, family law commissioner, 0 visitation. Appeal to a judge, mom gets an attorney, gets it continued later. Pushing out, 5 days a week visitation because I stayed in there. Most of you guys would have quit. Most of you guys would have not done revision because you would have listened to a dumbass attorney who said, oh, revisions never work. That's how I even won my case in the end because I kept at it. If I didn't do that revision, I may have never worn down the mother. If I didn't do contempt, I may have never worn down the mother. There's an attorney in LA that says he's a father's rights attorney. He says, don't do contempt. It's a waste of time. That's the straw that broke the camel's back in my case. But you want to listen to a dumbass attorney. You don't want to call James. You want to feel me out. You don't need any feeling out other than looking at my winning court orders. Most of the guys who actually win in court They don't even need to look at anything. They watch one or two of my videos, say, this guy's an a-hole, but what he said something really important. Let me watch another video. Oh my God, this guy knows what he's talking about. I need to talk to him. Boom. I need to consult with you now. Stat. Those decisive guys are the ones who win. All you punk ass, lazy, cowardly, oh, I just wish the mother would work stuff out. Oh, I wish we had 50-50 laws. I wish. R. Kelly wannabes. I wish. Get over it. Your kid is dangling at a cliff, and the cliff is going to go over into an abyss of absent father life. Are you going to go rescue the kid, or are you going to sit back 100 yards from the cliff and go, oh, it's so dangerous going up there. I might fall off the cliff. And the mom is standing there going like this saying, no. There's guys with no court orders. The mom gives them the kid for Thanksgiving Day, and they give the kid back because the mother orders them to, and they obey them. And time after time, the dad says, oh, I thought I had to obey her. If you had to obey her, I would have been in trouble with the cops if I would have kept the child overnight. Why? What law did you break? You had the children overnight when you guys got along, when you had separate houses and they stayed the night. Why weren't you afraid the cops would arrest you? Oh, she said it was okay then. So the law changes depending on what she says. Where's the law that says that she owns your kids? You don't even question stuff. You're a good little slave. Do you like being a whipped punk ass bitch little slave? Do you like acting like your baby's mom is your mommy? I don't know too many men who do like that. Why don't you grow some balls or learn how to stand on your own and demand stuff and put your foot down? Or why don't you just act like you're the father of your kid? You act like you're the father of your kid when you got along. When you broke up, all of a sudden, the baby's mom became your master and your mommy and the slave owner who owned the title and deed to you and the kids. And all of a sudden, you had to obey her. And in order to excuse you being a punk ass bitch because you don't want any drama, you said, oh, there has to be a law. And deep down in your conscience, you know that you should have the kid more. Now, I never kept the kid. I didn't have anybody tell me that. Nobody had the balls to tell me just keep the kid. Even the guy who mentored me, who went to jail because he refused to pay child support. He never paid a dime in child support. So he was willing to stand up to the system, but he didn't tell me about standing up to the mom, which kind of pisses me off to this day. But you guys won't even stand up to the baby's mom when you have total freedom to act like the father of your own kid. And you know if somebody tries to take your car, like a tow truck tries to take your car or a repo company, you'll jump out and you'll dive and risk your life to rescue your car, but not your kids. If a cop comes to your house and say, we think you're cooking meth in the house, you got the wrong house. I don't know what you're talking about. Well, let us take a look around. You would say, do you have a warrant? And the cop will say, no, but you got to let us in because we're suspicious. No, you need a warrant. So you stand your ground on that. You stand your ground when it comes to your car. If you drove the car and your wife said the car is stolen because she's pissed that you're going to go hang out with your boys, and the cops pull you over and say, hey, this car is stolen. Say, what's going to be your answer? This is my car. Look at the registration. It says me and my wife's name. But when it comes to your kid, you don't say, this is my kid too. You just surrender and bow down and worship and kiss the ass of the police officer who says, why don't you hand over the kid? It'll look better in court. The cop doesn't threaten to arrest you. I've actually had guys do this. This is why my gender is a bunch of punk ass sellouts. And this is why we need to wake up. And if you've been a punk ass, I was being a punk ass bitch in my last relationship. I was being a punk in a lot of things in my life. I was a horrible brother to my sister who got bullied at school because I was afraid of her bully's brother. I was a punk little bitch in elementary school. I can own it. I was a dumbass for having a kid with a crazy woman when I got warned by God to not mess with her. I can own it. But then I could deal with it afterward. Some guys will I'll say, if you can't keep the kid Thanksgiving night and Friday and Saturday and Sunday, if you'll get arrested for that, why don't you call the cops on the mother the next time she keeps the kid against your will and you want the kid? Or I already tried calling the cops. They said they can't do anything. You stupid punk little bitch. You just got done telling me you're scared the cops will arrest you, and then you turn around and say you know the cops can't do anything. You're afraid of them doing something you know they can't do. You want to be a bitch. God dang, my gender is such a bunch of punk-ass, simp, limp-wristed, fruity little cowards. You are your own worst enemy. Stop doing that. Now, I know a lot of this stuff is a bunch of rant, and it's not nice, and I look like a jerk. I don't care, because if you don't want to... Joe Rogan talks about it all the time. He said, I had to fight my inner bitch today and work out because I felt lazy and didn't want to do it. Fight your inner... I'm telling you to fight your inner bitch and be a man and rescue your kids. Because who's going to rescue your kids other than you? Nobody. Are you mad at me because I called that father's rights guy in Idaho a bitch? That guy gave a dad advice to give his daughter over to a child molester. Because that dad was such a lazy bum, he didn't read the law that he was relying on. The law said you'll go to jail if you withhold the child. But if you're doing it to protect the child's safety, that's an exception. He was such a lazy bum, he didn't read the law that he was citing. That's what I'm sick and tired of. It's time for us to wake up. It's time for us to do some third grade level reading of the plain. Like when I read that law, it didn't have one complex legal term in it. But some of you guys look at it along, oh my God, it's the law. I'm scared of the law. The law is going to hurt my feelings if I read it because there's big words in there. I remember being in third grade, like if I didn't know a word, I would go open the dictionary and look it up so I could understand what a word said. Some of you guys are scared of words or hypothetical words. I don't want to read this law because it's scary, because the law is scary and there's big words. And you haven't even read, like the law that I read, when the guy was saying hand the kid over to a molester, there was not one complex piece of terminology in there. So we need to stop being sellouts to our own children. The fathers are the protectors, and society has attacked the fathers and has attacked the protectors. Society has told fathers to stand down and be feminine simps and be soft and delicate. Now, that movie 300, do you think if all those soldiers were the typical American male, that they would have stood up to the Persians? Do you think, I don't know who, if I got this right, the Mongolians or whoever was fighting China and following Sun Tzu's Art of War tactics, do you think if those were feminine males in America, that they would have been able to stand up to the Chinese? Do you think if the Normandy Beach soldiers and the alliance with Britain and the American soldiers, if they were, those are the guys, there were 18-year-olds out there with balls 10 times the size of the average 40-year-old in America, whining and crying like a baby that you got to fight for your kids. You made the kids. Go fight for them. You don't have an excuse. I didn't have an excuse. And guess what? I had no idea what I was doing. All I knew is I'm going to fight. And along the way, I learned some stuff. And guess what? Me going to war and getting on the offensive and engaging in the fight, that in and of itself was what won my case. That's why I emphasize and I keep sticking to this grow some balls stuff, because our fears and our laziness and our cowardice and our lack of common sense is our worst enemy. We need to knock it off. And if it hurts your feelings going through this video and you got to get off of here, you're not ready to fight for your kids. So you might as well quit so you don't give yourself an ulcer. And you might as well deal with the torment of being a sellout and a quitter in your kid's life. Now, if you want to whine and cry and complain about the system, go ahead and fight the system all by yourself, because there's no groups out there doing anything about it. You got all the, I got guys like, well, I'm gonna file a bar complaint against this attorney. I'm gonna sue the other attorney. I'm gonna sue this judge and federal. You got all this energy for everything else outside of fighting for your kid. You talk all kinds of smack about doing this, that, and that. You'll argue with me all day long. And you're going to lose that because you haven't won even one hearing or anything close to what I've won. You got all kinds of energy for all this misdirected energy toward all these things that don't even matter, and you're not even focusing on your life with your kid because you just want to block that out because it's too traumatic to face your fears and confront a corrupt court system. You're only going to be in it for a year on average. Why not decide for a year of my life, I'm going to fight and I'm going to go for it. And you can do this. You just got to decide. If I didn't know, I face a 17-year attorney. If you look at my parenting plan, you will see, and my winning contempt motion, you will see not only did the mother have her own attorney, but she had a radical feminist, man-hating, lesbian guardian ad litem who got molested by her dad against me. Megan O'Brien Stanley, or Stanley O'Brien. I keep forgetting her name. I mean, I get the last name mixed up. Radical feminist wanted her, name hyphenated with whatever partner she had. She actually might have been married to a man. I don't know. But in any case, I had a corrupt, and I was fresh. I was a rookie. I didn't know what I was doing. I had nobody helping me. I had nobody cuddling with me like you want. I had nobody supporting me. My sister told me to just give up and give the mother whatever she wants because her two boyfriends spent $100,000 on attorneys and got nothing. I said, I love you, but I can't do that. Too bad. I'm fighting. I had people who felt bad for me, but that's all they could do. They were powerless. I had nobody helping me. And you guys got me, and you argue with me. Your number one advocate. The guy who's giving you thousands of dollars worth of information for free or for $40 or $60. And you won't even use that stuff. You just want to argue and whine and cry and complain, which ain't going to get you anywhere. I don't want to talk to you. So don't flatter yourself. Oh, James is a jerk. I'm going to unfollow. Bye. Out of the 4,000 followers or close to that I got on YouTube, I get 100 views now. I used to get like 600, 800 views on videos. I get 100 views here, a couple hundred views there. Nobody's doing this stuff. After a while, they're like, oh, he makes great sense. But I'm going to stick with my lawyer, and I'm going to see if my lawyer will do that. Oh, my lawyer won't do that? James doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. 3 months later, people call me up. I got royally screwed. I didn't listen to anything you say. I followed my lawyer. Fix it. I can't. It's too late. The war is on right now. You need to fight right now. If you're at the beginning of your case, you are in the best case scenario because about 80% of the guys who get on the offensive and do everything that I say right from the beginning, about 80% of them come out with a favorable ruling. And their case is over before a few months is over. Like I gave you some numbers before, like after somebody's getting screwed, when they get on the offensive and stuff, 50% of them, the mother settles like in a month. That number goes up if you start off the case and fight the right way from the beginning. And again, I was just swinging at nothing for a while. But then I latched on and I learned some things and I got on the offensive. I didn't even know I was wearing the mother down until her attorney called and said she wants to give you custody. Now, some of you are going to say, oh, so you didn't win custody, she surrendered. You dumbass, 95% of court cases settle out of court. Shut the hell up with that stupid stuff. 95% of criminal cases settle when somebody cops a plea. This is a leverage game. Whoever has the most leverage or control, whoever's worn out first will surrender first. But I have had guys who are construction workers who don't like to read or write, who do blue collar work who don't like to read or write, conduct their own 1, 2, 3, and 4-day trials and get full custody with the stuff I'm talking about. Now, I've helped hundreds of guys get full custody. The majority of them got them by getting on the offensive and the mother settled. Are you going to say, oh, that doesn't count because they settled? I guess some dumbasses who say that stupid stuff. You walk away with a court order giving you your kid because you flipped it on the other side and you used their own tactics against them. And you won your kid. You didn't go to trial and win, but you guys settled, or they surrendered, or they gave in, or they compromised. And some people will say that's not a win. You walked away with your life with your kid. That's the end goal here. See how stupid my gender is? I guess that could be a fourth thing. You get your ego wrapped up in what you're doing. Oh, well, I'm going to do this strategy, play Mr. Nice Guy, and that's going to win. And you have no common sense You're not applying any common sense. That's never worked before. You don't do any research. You're too lazy to do any research, and you're trusting what your attorney says, and you've never even asked your attorney how many times has that worked for you. Or your attorney says, well, guys never get custody. That's an indication that attorney has never helped a guy get custody. Or 50-50. The courts don't like 50-50, so we're not going to try. Why not try, and if we fall short, at least we'll come closer to the goal. Duh! So I think I made my point. I kind of belabored it, but sometimes I need to drive it home. Cops harassing you in the background? No, that's just cops driving by. Size fits all answer. After I fired my first attorney, I did it with James for a year. I hired a cheap attorney and I did all the work. The same time, the detective work, and he just did the paperwork. James tells it like it is. He's a truth bomb. Uncle type that gives you the unpleasant medicine. Yeah, and I don't want to do this, but this is the number one problem. If the number one problem was the language in a brief for trial, I'd be focusing on that. But you guys know what the problem is. You guys are all scared, and you won't go to court and fight. Think about this. Look at what the mother is saying about you. She's going to court and crucifying you. She's telling the court you're a monster, a child abuser, a drug addict, an adulterer, you're addicted to child porn, and you're a domestic violence perpetrator, you're harassing all this other stuff, and you're a scorned ex-lover who's just mad and butthurt. She's saying all that to you, and what's your attorney's advice? Well, just go in there and play nice and you'll win. If you go in there and you don't counter what she's saying and say she's a liar, you're basically affirming what she's saying, and you're her best witness by standing down and doing nothing. Common sense. And when you go to court and get railroaded, you should realize my attorney strategy didn't work too well. What was the ruling? Is she able to keep them from you because of the temporary order? I'm not sure what you're talking about. If you're talking about my case, when I went to court, she tried to get a restraining order. I was restrained from the mother and the child, from the mother. And she had the child, so I didn't see the child. And the judge said, we're going to continue the hearing, go to family court, come back with a parenting plan. I do criminal court. I don't know family law. Go to family law, do your thing. Come back in 2 weeks. We came back in 2 weeks. The judge's like, did you get a parenting plan? I said, no. We have a hearing in the next 2 weeks. It took a while to get going on that. I got some bad legal advice from the clerk, and I followed it like a dummy. The judge said, did the father get any visitation? And the mom goes, no, he didn't even call my coworker to facilitate it. I'm like, so she's sitting here complaining that she doesn't want me in her life, and now she's complaining that I didn't contact her coworker. I'm not going to contact somebody who works right next to her, right by her desk, so she could say that I harassed her. Some of you guys, you'll call the mother when there's a protection order that says, if you violate this, you go to jail. Why? Because the mother said, okay, I'll let you see the kids. Don't worry about the protection order. Well, if she says that, call her attorney and say, your client said that I could see the kids, so let's drop the protection order. That would be the next common sense step, because if you go and violate the protection order, you go to jail. And a lot of you guys will do that, and then she ambushes you, and you go to jail. Because you're stupid enough to violate a protection order. You say, oh, the mother said it's okay. It's against the law to violate a protection order. If the mother says, go stab that person in the neck, are you going to obey? Are you that much of a slave? Are you going to obey her on that too? No, because you know it's against the law. But when it comes to your kids, you're a total dumbass, and you get caught up in your emotions, and you think the mother owns the children, and you will obey whatever she says to your own detriment. Now you got a violation of a protection order, and now you're totally screwed, because now you're a criminal violator. Before, it was a civil protection order. So anyway, back to my story. I didn't have any visitation. Then I waited till I got to family court, and then we had a hearing, got 0 visitation. Then when the mother got an attorney, they offered visitation because the restraining order dropped off. And so I started seeing my daughter with a third-party exchange because they offered it, and I took it. She got an attorney who said, hey, you stupid idiot, you look really bad not letting him ever see the kid. Let him see the kid a little bit. And that's where I should have just kept my kid for a weekend. I didn't even think of that. I was just happy to see her. If somebody would have told me keep the kid, I would have done it. How can I reach you? You could call my number, All my contact information is in the link under every YouTube video. There's contact information or the link up at the top of YouTube. My phone number is 206-553-9158. A big regret of mine, treating the courtroom like diplomatic relations instead of war. Yeah, exactly. Diplomacy that's what mediation for. The courtroom is the war room. I just did a video on the courtroom is a place of war. So act like it. You don't go to court to play nice. That's what mediation and negotiations are for. When you're on the battlefield, you fight. The generals might get together from each side and say, let's negotiate. You still want to fight? And then they say, yep. And they go back to their tents. Or like you saw like in Braveheart, a movie like Braveheart. Like the kings from each country, they might send a messenger to like offer peace or whatever in negotiations. But once you're on the battlefield, you don't start talking nice to them. Would you challenge a restraining order? Yes. Why would you not? Are you a domestic violence perpetrator? Are you a harassing child molester? Then you shouldn't challenge it. If you're being falsely accused of something, yes, you should challenge it. I just got done talking earlier about a guy who challenged his he had a year restraining order. The mother went to renew it. That's an easy cakewalk from others. He had a consult with me. He got my defending restraining order packet. He ripped her apart and they threw it out. She had a cakewalk of she already won her restraining order for a year. All they got to do is say, I'm still afraid of him. Boom, it's automatic. He destroyed her in court. Fight everything. Everything that's against you, fight it all. What's the best way to challenge a restraining order? Get a consult with me. I can't answer. That's a 2-hour appointment with me. If mom wants you to wear a mask during a visit in your own home and you disagree with the mask, should I obey mom? Hell no. I would tell the mom, why are you giving me medical advice, which is against the law and a crime because you're not a doctor? Number two, give me all the scientific data that requires me to wear a mask. Anytime somebody tells you to do something or tells you, well, this is the way that it is, this is what you have to do. This is the question I tell everybody, say, where do you get that from? It's your burden to prove to me why you want me to do this. If a cop comes to my door and says, we want to come in your house, where do you get the idea that you can come into my house? Oh, we got a warrant here. Okay, I got to let you in. If you don't have a warrant, you don't have, or whatever. I would ask the mother, masks trap 11 pathogens in them, including the one that causes bacterial pneumonia. Do you know what Dr. Fauci said? I'm not a Fauci fan. Do you know what he said that caused all the deaths in the Spanish flu? I know this because I read beyond the headlines. He said everybody died from bacterial pneumonia during the Spanish flu days. Guess what they were doing during the Spanish flu? They were wearing masks. And there's a picture in Seattle of cops billy clubbing people for not wearing a mask back then. They've tried this before. Why should I be forced to take your medical advice when you're not a doctor? And I'd create a paper trail and write the mother, why are you giving me medical advice? Please give me all the scientific data that backs up your request that I wear a mask. It's already been proven that it's bullcrap. In China, everybody's wearing masks, everybody's triple vaccinated, and they supposedly have a count way up there. How can you remove your restraining order? Okay, you already asked that. You need to get a consult with me or get my packet on defending a restraining order, which is an argument against restraining orders, citing all the lawyers, all the judges, all the research and data, the bar associations who say women lie about restraining orders all the time, and you got to make a proper argument. That's what a consult with me is for. You pick apart a restraining, you go in there with, and I talked about this in my videos. The number one thing you do is distance yourself from the mother. You don't go in there and say, well, I've been trying to work this out with her. I want to reconcile with her. Then you look like a psycho stalker. Then she wins. You distance yourself from her. The way I fought my restraining order, the number one thing I did, I said, Your Honor, it looks like she's arguing that I'm calling the house to talk to her. I'm only calling the house because I'm trying to see how my daughter is. I could care less whether I talk to the mother ever again. And the judge actually said, oh, we don't need a restraining order then. And her whole fan club was like, no, save her. It goes, okay, I'll grant it for 2 more weeks, then it falls off and you're in family court. That's one hint, but I can't go through the 1 to 2 hours of a consultation about a restraining order with your particular details in your case unless I talk to you directly. My court is this Monday. We'll talk to you after. It's going to be a pre-trial hearing. Well, pre-trial hearing is nothing. You just go there and say, how long is trial going to be? But there's a bunch of strategies you should walk into a pre-trial hearing with to scare the other side. You might want to get a consult with me before your hearing. I get all kinds of people, they want a consult after their hearing, after they get screwed or after they agree to something that screws them. Usually before you have a football game, you practice before the game. You study film of the other team before the game. You don't study film of the other team after the game. If you're going to have a court hearing, even if it's a pretrial hearing, there's stuff to do at a pretrial hearing to scare the other side. So it'd probably be a good idea to get a consult with me before that. You don't have to, but it'd be a good idea. Someone said cops harassing you in the background. So the person who asked, what was the ruling? Is she able to keep them from you because of the temporary order? I got custody of my daughter in 2001. She's 21 and she lives with me now. So that's well over with. Okay, so somebody said it's not about being a punk little bitch. It's about effing their life up and everything they work for. Yeah, I know that. But the way you preserve and keep everything in your life, especially your kids, is standing up and getting on the offensive. And 90% of the guys I deal with give all kinds of reasons why they don't want to fight. They don't want to get on the offensive. They don't want to talk bad about the mother in court. They don't want to stand up to her. They're afraid. They're scared. That is rooted in being a punk bitch. But I guess I don't know what I'm talking about because I've won over and over and over in court for 20 years. And I've helped 300 guys get full custody. And I've helped a bunch of guys get 50-50. And I've helped a bunch of guys after they fire their attorney to get every other weekend when they're on supervised visitation. I guess I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, right? 20 years of experience in doing this. Yeah, it's traumatic. And I've done a video about this. I understand the trauma of this. I did not want to go out and check the mail. After I first started reading court papers, I didn't even want to go and check the mail and see the next motion or document that said what a monster I was. It's traumatic. But you know what defeats and overcomes that trauma is standing up and being a warrior and a soldier, not backing down. So you lack common sense if you think I don't know what the trauma is. See, that's a stupid comment because I've been through family court for 20 years. Most of you guys would have committed suicide if you went through half of what I went through. And I'm doing this at the same time of helping guys and listening to their horror stories and telling guys the answers and guys not doing it and losing and being frustrated with, if you just did what I did, you have a best chance to get something fair. And me going out and protesting people's cases and changing judges' rulings, and nobody else wants to protest. And all these punk, sissy, coward fathers' rights groups go out and protest and say, dads are people too. Or they won't go protest because it's too radical. And they're spending their millions of dollars in donations on passing laws that don't work. I've been doing this 20 years. I'm not insulted that you're ignorant of reality. You're coming on here saying, well, James, you're being offensive because you're calling us punk bitches because we're traumatized by getting everything taken away. My daughter was taken away from me for 40 days straight and she lived 3 blocks away. That's traumatic in and of itself. I had sleepless nights. I stopped eating. I've been through what you've been through. I've been through everything a dad has been through. I was falsely thrown in jail for 8 days, traumatizing my daughter who I was raising, while the mother and her attorney and the judge laughed at me. After raising my daughter for 20 years without the mother's help, I still was called a monster in court. I was psychologically tortured for 20 years. I had the worst attorney that I faced. The mom's attorney was the most aggressive attorney you've ever seen. I've had everybody tell me, this attorney's crazy. And their stories aren't even half as close to the nightmares I have. I just don't get up here and talk about all my victim bullshit because I'm trying to help people win. I don't want to hear your victim bullshit in the comments. I'm helping. Just the fact If you have some balls and I won, you should be running to the phone to set an appointment with me. I was in your position and I didn't have help like what I provide. And you guys are still pissing and crying and moaning and saying, hug me and feel bad for me. No, I won't. Because your answer is for you to get on the offensive. And if you won't do it, that's your problem. And I'm not here to reach everybody. You can comment all day long. James, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what I go through. You're a stupid jackass. I told you I was in family court for 20 years. You can't step outside of your own little world. You're a narcissist. You have no self-awareness. I'm sitting here empathizing with all the guys I ever deal with, every guy who's ever called me, 20,000 cases for 20 years. And your dumbass is up here saying, it's not about that. It's about what they're taking from us. I already know that, stupid. I already know that your life is being ripped apart. You don't think I know that? That's like saying Tom Brady doesn't know the schemes of the defenses against him. You already know and assume because of his record that he studies defense and prepares for football games. The fact that I've won in court over and over and again, and I was dragged in court for 20 years, would automatically tell you, if you got out of your feelings, that I've suffered great trauma dealing with this, and then I got to listen to everybody whining and crying why they can't win in court, and I'm sitting there telling them the winning. It's kind of like you telling a kid, okay, get up and feed yourself. You're 4 years old, feed yourself. Do your dishes, clean your room. You're 7 years old. Yeah, I can't. You would grab your kid and say, wake up. You can do it. And I've been doing that for 20 years, and you guys should automatically, if you have some balls or initiative or gumption or decisiveness, you should look and say, dang, this James guy got full custody without an attorney? I should be calling him. Instead, you're like, oh my God, what he's saying hurts my little panties, and I got him in a wad and I got him in a bunch. How could he talk to me like that? I'm going through so much. Do you think the guys that stormed Normandy Beach or the guys in war, while they're sitting around whining, crying, pounding, you know, war sucks, while they're on the battlefield? This sucks. I don't want to have to kill anybody. I like Iraqis. I have some distant cousins who live in Iraq. Do you think that whining, do you think they would tolerate that whining and crying? Everybody in the war already knows that the war sucks. If you want to have a powwow all day and all night talking about how war sucks while you're on the battlefield, you're going to get killed. This is kill or be killed. I'm here to teach people how to engage in war and get their kids back, keep their property, not get kicked out of the home, fight a restraining order, keep their job, keep their money. And I'm sitting here and I got answers, and you want to argue with me over how insensitive I am. What if I was an a-hole in my appointments, which I'm not? What if I was an a-hole with everything that I said? What if I didn't tell you that I suffered trauma? What if I didn't tell you that I was scared to go to the mailbox to open another letter from my baby's mom's attorney? And this is the first attorney. He was a cakewalk. That traumatized me. He was a cakewalk compared to the other attorney. The other attorney had lost cases on purpose for women clients so they would go broke, and he would convince them to live with him. And then he would convince them to work off their bill in his home office. He had a free slave labor operation going on. He used to threaten to kill and assault my process servers, my collection agency, everybody around me. Attorneys were afraid to come on board. I would call around and say, to get free legal advice, like, what would you do with this Don Farrell guy? Oh, I would never take a case with him. He's still practicing law. I can't believe he's practicing law. Did you file a bar complaint against him? No, I figured somebody else would. He tried to get in a fight with me in the court hallway. He tried to do this and that. He's an a-hole. I need $10,000 a retainer instead of $5,000. I double my retainer because he intentionally abuses the court system and makes it costly for everybody. So all these attorneys knew that, but nobody did anything about it. And I defeated him in the Court of Appeals and schooled him. And he made it his lifelong agenda for his last 13 years of practicing law, 37 to 50 years experience, to go after me and harass me. And he would drum up stuff, and the judge would let him bring frivolous motions to court. That's traumatizing when you're raising a kid all by yourself as a single parent. When you have a full-time job and you're listening to these cases all day long. You are mad because I'm not empathizing with your one case. You can't even handle the trauma of your one case. I'm listening to 5 to 10 cases a day sometimes. And 9 out of 10 of those guys won't get an appointment. They just want to dump all their problems on me and have me listen and empathize and feel for them. And then I say, well, you got to get an appointment. And they don't want to spend the money. Or they say I'm a con artist or whatever. I'll get the money later on. Or they cancel or they're a no-show. I'm not here to be a counselor. I cannot take on all your energy of everything right and sit here and talk about everything nice. You either grow some balls and stand up and stop fighting the losing route and learn how to fight like a winner. You either do that or you quit. There's nothing nice about war is hell. You want me to talk about all day long how bad this court system is and all that? We already know that stuff. The thing that you don't know is how to fight. And I'm sitting here telling people how to fight. And the best way to do it, best way to learn it, is to get a consult with me. Or you can watch all my free videos. If you think I'm a con artist, grow some balls and back up the shit talking that you're doing and go and watch all my videos and go and do what I did. Because I did it without an attorney. I did it without any James Christensen helping me back then. The guy who helped me gave me 1% of the information I'm giving you. I was totally lost. And I still beat the snot out of an attorney for 7 months. And then I beat the snot out of an attorney with 50 years experience. And your punk ass is crying because I'm not hugging and crying with you. I've already been there. I got the solution of what gives a guy a best chance to win. And you're crying because I'm telling you to man up and go to war. And you're like, I don't like that. You're proving my point. The root of the problem is, okay, let me ask you this. Just think about this. Have you done discovery in your case? When you got discovery answered, did you do more discovery afterward? If you have an attorney, if you're stupid enough to have an attorney, have you spent more than $5,000? And if you have, did you get 50-50? Did you get what you want? Why do you still have an attorney? Did the attorney ever do a deposition on the mother? If you lost a court hearing, did you do a reconsideration? If you have an opportunity to go from a commissioner to, or a magistrate, or I forgot what the other one's called. Commissioner, magistrate. There's a couple others that are not full-blown judges. Did you do the appeal process from losing that hearing to the next one? Then you'll say, oh, I can't afford it. Why do you have an attorney then? Why don't you do it yourself? You already lost. What do you got to lose? Did you get on the offensive from the beginning? If you have a restraining order against you, did you cite all of the judges, the lawyers, and the free stuff that I give you in my flow page link? Did you cite the Harvard law professor in the Divorce Corp video? Did you cite the lawyers and judges in there who say that women lie about protection orders all the time to get leverage in custody cases? If you have a restraining order, did you do that? If you didn't do any of these things, you didn't do all of them, you haven't even started to attempt to fight. And I'm sitting here telling you, listen to me and do these things or get on the offensive. And everybody's saying, no, that's too hard and blah, blah, blah. So I'm saying, overcome your inner bitch and fight and get on the offensive. What's stopping you from doing what I just said? There's like 10 other things you should be doing minimum in your case. A lot of you guys went without seeing your kids for 3 months because you couldn't get a court hearing for three months on the regular counter. Did you go to ex parte and say why it's an emergency? If you lost the ex parte, did you do a reconsideration? You're not even attempting to do the bare minimum stuff that helps give you a chance. I probably just told some of you stuff you've never heard before. Do any of you know what a deposition is? If you do, have you done it? Well, my attorney doesn't want to do it. Why don't you make them do it? You're the boss. Why do you obey them? Why do you follow them? It comes down to a root of you being a bitch. Stop it. Be a man. Demand that they do stuff. And then guys will tell me, well, my lawyer won't do stuff. I told them to do what you said and they won't do it. Then fire them. Duh. That's like, I mean, would you hire a landscaper? I give this example all the time, so it's redundant for some of you. You want an oval edged out in your lawn and beauty bark around it. And the landscaper said, I think this yard or this block would look better with squares. They got rectangles over there and all this stuff. And you say, no, I want an oval. And then you leave and go to work, you come back, and they make it a square or rectangle. You would be pissed and you wouldn't pay them a dime. But with your attorney does stuff you don't want them to do, and you keep paying them. You see how dumb that is? You see how ridiculous that is? I'm trying to wake you the hell up. And you're mad that I'm telling you to wake the hell up and grow some balls. It's not about being, if you have balls and you're getting on the offensive in your court case, how well has that worked for you? Have you done all those things? Now, there's cases where you can do everything you possibly can and the prejudicial court system's still going to rule against you. But be honest for a second. Did you get on the offensive from the beginning? Did you go for full custody? Are you going for full custody now? Because if the mother wants you to have less than 50-50, the mother is a child abuser. Did you call her a child abuser, or are you a punk-ass bitch coward who's scared to call a child abuser a child abuser? If the mother does not give the child food and malnourishes the child by not giving the child food, if the mother won't give the child water, if the mother doesn't take your kid to school, if the mother doesn't give your kid clean clothes or new clothes, the mother is being neglectful or abusive. You would say that, wouldn't you? So when she's depriving the child of a father, which is way more important than anything I just said, except for the food and water. But food, water, shelter, clothing, that all comes with a father. The mother's depriving the child of a father. And your dumbass doesn't call it child abuse because you're scared. You're being a punk ass bitch. That's what I'm talking about. Go in there and say, this is a form of child abuse. The science says that children need both parents. Why would a mother deprive a child of both parents? Watch my video on the #1 argument for 50-50. It's the same argument for full custody. Every single dad watching me right now, and there's some mothers out there getting screwed in court, but the ratio of mothers getting screwed to dads is 90-10. If you want to argue with me about that, screw off. I don't care. I've watched 20,000 cases. If you haven't seen 20,000 cases, shut the hell up. I'm tired of arguing with stupid people who are basing the entire court system nationwide on their one case because they're emotionally traumatized. So, are you going for full custody? Now, if you're saying, I don't want to take the child away from the mother, you don't want to take the child away from a child abuser, there goes your punk ass inner bitch ruling over you again. You're proving my case. Stop being a punk ass bitch. It is about being a punk ass bitch. If you are not going for full custody, first of all, think about this. Think about how stupid you're being if you're not going for full custody. Let's say you get full custody. The mother has every other weekend. You just got done saying, I don't want to take the child away from the mother because lightning will come down and strike me for committing blasphemy against motherhood. If you get full custody and you have control of your kid, you can let the kid see the mother whenever you want, you stupid dumbass. Why didn't you think of that? And then if you have control, then the mother who's the alienator, emotional basket case, child manipulator, undermining your parenting, she doesn't have it. And then if she tries to brainwash the kids, then you pull back on the visitation. Why are you so stupid you didn't think of that? Because you're emotional, you're traumatizing, and your inner bitch is ruling. And I'm trying to shake you up and wake you up and get you out of that stupor. Think about the cartoon The Lion King. Simba is the king of the jungle. He runs out and frolics in the oasis with all these little fruity, little delicate animals. And he's enjoying the comfort and ease of where he's at. That is his kingdom. He has a come to Jesus meeting with Mufasa in the clouds, and then he remembers who he is, and he's like, screw Scar. I'm going to go and F him up. That's my kingdom. I'm the righteous king of this kingdom. And it's dark and evil and gloomy in that territory when this evil person is ruling over it. Your family is your kingdom. Act like the king of your kingdom. That's what I'm telling people to do. But all you are being a bunch of Simbas and running off to the oasis and hoping that the mother comes out who's acting like Scar in the movie. You think she's going to have a change of heart and just let you back in and just be nice. And you're just hoping and wishing and praying and hoping and wishing and praying and hoping and wishing and praying. When you need to have a come to Jesus meeting with yourself and who you really are. You're the king of your family. You're the protector. You're the one who provides male affirmation. The mother is like Scar. She's an evil, psychotic manipulator and alienator. And you're sitting here saying, you want to share custody with a child abuser? What kind of dumbass mentality is that? Again, like I said, if your kid stays the night at a neighbor's house and that neighbor is violent and throwing stuff against the walls and traumatize your kid, are you going to send your kid over there next week for a sleepover? No, you're not. Or if that neighbor talks bad about you and say, your dad's an idiot, your dad sucks. Why do you love your dad? You would never send your kid back to the house. But because the mother is doing it and the title of this child abuser is mother, you tolerate it and you want to share. You would never let a stranger do that. But you'll let a mother do that because she's titled mother and you're brainwashed and you're living in this zombie-like matrix where you're walking around following what everybody else does and you can't think for yourself. And I know for a fact, deep down in your conscience, you know what you're doing is wrong. You're not fighting the right way. You know there's something better. You know it should be better. And I'm sitting there telling you how to get out of it and get on the offensive. And you're like, that sounds too a-hole-ish, and I don't like that. I want to tiptoe through the tulips and win this war by frolicking in the fields and offering flowers to the enemy. The mother is a child abuser. Call a spade a spade. Tell the court she's a child abuser. And see, none of you guys go in court and tell the court that this is child. I said this is child abuse my second hearing. I'm like, the mother, her two sisters, that home is like a cult-like environment. They want the father not in the kid's life. I said that on my own. I didn't go to jail. The judge didn't punish me. Nobody got their feelings hurt. Maybe the mom did. So what? I don't care. Only a punk-ass bitch would worry about what somebody thinks or feels when you're telling the truth. And so nobody goes into court and calls alienation child abuse. Nobody goes to court and says withholding a father is harmful to the child. Nobody goes in court and says, believe the science. Why don't you believe in the science? The science says that I'm not in the home full time. The kids suffer. You need to place James in the child's life at least equally to the mom. I need to have the first right of refusal. Did you argue first right of refusal for your current order in place right now? You didn't? Then you don't know what the hell you're doing. You should talk to somebody who knows what the hell they're doing. If you're gonna be a dummy and you're gonna keep your attorney, then at least learn how to talk to your attorney and demand stuff from your attorney. You can get a consult from me for that. Or watch my videos on how I deal with the attorney. See, everything, nobody has to come with me in any questions. There's answers out there for everything. Now, my videos usually are so short that I'm just giving you the tip of the iceberg, but you could take that and run with it and go find the answers yourself. But it will take you hours, days, weeks, and months to find it, where you can get it in an hour with me or a few minutes with me. And you have to pay a little money to save yourself hundreds of hours. That's how life works. So if you don't like my tone, waking you up and telling you to be a man and grow some balls and fight for your kid, I don't know what to tell you. Because it's worked for me and thousands of other people. Like, I don't do a consult like you call me up and I'm talking to you like David Goggins or Cole from Snake Diet or whatever, right from the jump. We're trying to figure out what's going on in your case. But for now, if you're hurt by what I'm saying, go follow somebody else. Go follow that pretty boy, black dude, bald head with the big smile, the something lawyer. And listen to his half-ass advice that doesn't give you anything. I got proof that I know what I'm talking about. I don't know how many more. Like, I still have to tell people that. I have winning court orders of me defeating attorneys and guardian items and fighting off restraining orders, getting the mother found in contempt, getting custody, winning in the Court of Appeals, winning child support modifications, defending against all other kinds of motions, again, defending against her contempt. She tried 7 restraining orders. I defended against domestic violence protection orders. I've seen it all pretty much. I don't know what else to tell you, so I might have to wrap it up here, see if there's any other questions. Has it been 30 days yet? There are time limits, usually 30 days to my knowledge. I don't know what you're talking about. 30 days yet for what? If you're talking about my case, I'm done with my case. My case is over. I've been to the Court of Appeals like 8 times. A couple of them I just dropped because I would have won the last one too, but I had to deal with teenager issues. I'm raising my daughter and it's just a waste of time. If I'd have won, the only thing that would have been I got out of it was I could say nan to the judge. It wasn't worth it to me. So I'm really like 3 for 6 in the Court of Appeals. I'm batting like 500. Most attorneys have not won in the Court of Appeals or don't want to go there. If you file an appeal, okay, so if you file an appeal with the court, does it automatically get granted or can it be rejected? If you file anything with the court, you're asking the court to do something, they could say yes or no. In the Court of Appeals, they could send it back down and say, start all over and do it over again because you did it wrong, but they give them a chance. They could either affirm the decision, reverse the decision, or remand. Say, hey, look, You did the numbers wrong. You said the father makes $3,000 a month. He only makes $2,000. Recalculate child support. So they give the court a chance to redo it, but they tell them, they remand it for them to do new work, to do the hearing over again, but with new facts or new understandings, or they make corrections. I understand why James gets upset. Same reason I told my good friend to leave his cheating ex. He won't do it. Very frustrating. Well, some people, they're just not going to do stuff. And you probably see it coming with him. I had some friends tell me that the lady who played me is probably playing me. I just didn't want to believe it. I just cared about her and her kids. Her dad respected me. I was the first non-toxic boyfriend she had. But she was playing me. I should have listened to my friends. I should have got out. It wasn't worth it. But I cared. But when I found out I had hardcore evidence, then I was out. I wasn't going to keep going. And it hurt to even do that because I cared about the woman, but I cared about a fake avatar that she put up because she's a narcissist. A big regret of mine, treating the courtroom like, okay, I already answered that. Okay, so I missed a bunch earlier, I'm sure. Let me see if I got any important questions. Yeah, I'm not using an attorney. It's pointless. I talked to you multiple times. My situation is totally different now. I'm going to need more information. Okay. I've been going through all court motions on my own. Talk to him as well. Definitely call you and give you an update. How long did your process take? Okay, I think I answered that. I got full custody 7 months. I went back to court to modify child support a year later. That's where she got the other attorney. That was 3 months and they denied me. They wouldn't modify, even though the mother was making good money and all that other stuff. I'm being patient, but the judge is making us appear once a month, okay, and slowly give me more time. So the person who said that, I'm being patient, and the judge is making you appear once a month. Another example is that Ariel Castro case where he had those 3 women in the basement of his house. They didn't gradually pull those traumatized women out of the house. They didn't say, okay, well, let's pull them out for a day and then put them back in the house for a couple days and let them get used to the world. They yanked them out and rescued them and dealt with any trauma of the change. You should tell the court, look, yank the children out of this traumatic situation of not having a father. Place them with 50-50. Here's another great argument. I have this in my video on the number one argument for 50-50. The courts will drop kick children in a total stranger's house if the CPS comes in and takes them away and put them in foster care. You're telling me they can't be drop kicked 50-50 into the biological father's home that they already have a relationship with? And even if they don't have a relationship with him, it's the biological father. And you demand stuff from the court. Where are you getting your logic or your data or your science that says the kids will have a problem with this? You don't have it anywhere. You have to assume that the children need me. Adopted kids, as soon as they turn 18, they will go and search for their parents because they yearn for their parents. Kids yearn for their parents. Use those arguments. Use the military reunion one. If a kid's dad goes off to Iraq for a year and a half, when you see those military reunions, they're at the airport or maybe at a football game, they'll do a big show of a surprise. They'll do a message like, hey, I miss you guys and all that stuff on the reader board. And they say, he's back. And then they show him come walking out of the tunnel. The kids go running to their dad, running. They don't need reunification therapy on the field before they hug their dad. They go running. They haven't seen their dad in a year and a half. Only these dumbass courts make up a business of reunification therapy. Did your attorney argue that? Those of you dads who haven't seen your kids for a while and they say you gradually need to get back in their life. Did they use the military dad reunion example? Did they talk about foster care? Did they talk about how adopted kids will go searching for their dads? Those are 3 common sense, obvious examples that counter this narrative that children need to be gradually returned to their father. That's bullcrap. Watch, go take a child from mother and disappear for a month. Will they gradually unify the child with the mother? No, they won't. When you go in there and you flip it on them, you tell them, well, I'll just do that and then you have to gradually unify the mother or whatever. Or if you won't find the mother in contempt, I guess next time I have the kids, I'll just keep them for a couple weeks longer since you don't find contempt and your orders aren't enforceable. Oh, they'll enforce the orders on you. Just like that example I gave. If Jackie Robinson spits on a white player when he integrates into Major League Baseball, he'll get punished or beat up or whatever. But the white people spit on him, nobody's gonna do anything about it because the entire culture or environment is screwed up. That's what people are. That's where the fathers' rights groups are stupid. You can't fix the culture of the court system and its discrimination against fathers by passing a law. We already got good laws that you could interpret and apply and give guys 50-50 in every single case, unless he's really abusive and the mother proves it. The laws already favor the parents being equal. There's some states that say there's no preference of giving custody to one particular gender. Boom, you got it. Why are you wasting your time going for laws? Grow some balls and learn how to argue in court the right way and unbrainwash these judges from their normal thinking that they get from all these judges' seminars. Have the lawyers go in court and start arguing this stuff, but they're not doing it. And I'm telling you guys to do it, and you won't do it. And then you're sitting here getting mad at me because I'm telling you to grow some balls and do what will upend the court system and change the culture. So anyway, I'm going to have to leave it at that. This is more new stuff. Okay, I can't answer my phone right now because I'm doing a YouTube live. And I have somewhere I need to be. So the best way to reach me if you're not getting through on the phone is to text me and we can get a consult that way. You can email me too. I don't check my emails, but at the end of the day, sometimes I miss a day. So the fastest way to reach me is to text me. I'm about to hop off here. I got to run into the store and get some stuff and run some errands. So if you want to schedule an appointment with me, if you're not scared of me now after me yelling so much, text me. You can try and call. If you don't get through on a call, text me and we'll pick a day and time and we'll go from there. And we'll lock in an appointment. How about the fathers accused of sexual misconduct with a stepdaughter? I don't know what your question is about that, but you should fight it. If there's no criminal case, how come there's no criminal case? The mother doesn't really believe that. I'm going for full custody because I'm falsely accused of the most heinous, reprehensible, sick thing you could possibly do. And it's the same argument that I talk about with domestic violence and abuse. Women lie about this stuff all the time. And the court will say, well, that lies only happen in 4% of cases. Well, first of all, how do you know that? Second of all, how come that stat's been around for 40 or 50 years and everybody uses it? Nancy Grace said it for the Duke Lacrosse case. She said, oh, false allegations of rape only happen in 4% of cases. Number one, what if this is one of those 4% cases where the mother's lying? Number two, how do you know it's only 4%? Those are only the cases where we found out the woman was lying. We all know there's innocent people in jail. They get released. We hear stories of them getting released all the time. If we didn't find those out or get DNA evidence, those people, you would have said zero. There could be countless people falsely accused. And on top of that, you are not allowed to testify to stuff that you haven't looked at every single case on. You know the rules of evidence. See, when you know all the rules and all the laws, you don't have to call James, what do I say about this? What do I say about that? What do I say about that? When you know the basic principles, when you know how to dribble and pass and shoot, you don't need to go to the coach what do I do next? What do I do next? What do I do next? You just go and execute all the skills that you know. There's basic things you need to get down. The law, case law, the court rules, and the rules of evidence when you go to court. And you can shut down the judge's presumption that's true. First of all, the mother has to prove that you did it in order to take the kid away. Here's one thing. If the judge is saying, okay, right now you're being restricted while the criminal case is going on about you molesting this child. First of all, you're assuming that it's true and that I'm guilty. Second of all, you have to make findings of facts that I'm a danger to the child. Third of all, if you say, well, we're doing it just in case, there is no just in case. Just in case is not a finding of fact. Watch my video on findings of facts. When the judge throws you in jail for murder for life, they have to wait until the jury finds it to be a fact that you committed murder. Findings of facts. Then the conclusion of law is you deserve the death penalty or life in prison. You have to make findings of facts. You can't just say, oh, the dad has restricted visitation just in case he molested the other child. That's not a finding of fact. That's a finding of, well, just in case hypothetically. That's not a finding of fact. You can't make a ruling against me in my constitutional right under Troxel versus Granville and violate that without a finding of fact. And then if somebody falsely accuses me of molesting somebody, in my case, I went to small claims court and sued my one of my guardian ad litem, somebody and two people who testified against me. Those people never messed with me again after that. Now, I dropped the cases. One of them wanted me on Judge Joe Brown. The other one wanted me on Judge Judy's show. They have to agree to be on there. They didn't agree because they knew they would look stupid. And then I just dropped them because I got custody of my daughter and I just was moving on. But for lack of a better term, they basically surrendered because I practically abused the system against them, but I wasn't trying to abuse it. I exercised all my legal recourse as available to me, and they felt that they were abused and traumatized, even though I got traumatized at the beginning. That's the hypocrisy of these mothers. They will traumatize you, rip stuff away from you. That's the curse of Eve. Women want to dominate and rule over you. And then you do something to them, they're traumatized. They can't believe you have the audacity to stand up to them. So if I'm falsely accused of molesting a kid, I'm pressing charges for the crime of false reporting. I'm suing that person in court for falsely accusing me, and I'll have a winning lawsuit before the criminal case is done. And I'll file a bar complaint against the prosecutor who's keeping that case alive. Watch the case about the Duke Lacrosse case. That prosecutor went to jail for a day because they were found in contempt. And then, I'm going for full custody. The mother has falsely accused me of the most reprehensible. You should act like you're innocent. If you sit back and wait for them to railroad you and you sit silently, you look guilty. And you're sitting there saying, I don't want to be aggressive because I don't want to look guilty. You look guilty sitting back and do nothing. I'm going for full custody because she falsely accused me of this heinous, reprehensible thing. If I'm such a monster, why did she live with me? Why did she marry me? Why did she have kids with me? It's bullcrap. So there's all kinds of stuff to do in any situation and to get on the offensive. So most family law attorneys fight for you like Dems, rhinos fight for people. That's exactly what it is. Like you're hiring them to represent you and they don't. It never happens. That's a great example. It's like a uniparty, one giant club. Yeah, and you ain't in it. Like George Carlin said, it's a big club and you're not in it. Oh, you're talking. Okay, so you're talking about Anthony's question. Okay, so you were talking to Anthony. You weren't talking to me. Okay, I got that. Who's that? McPherson 6 or G? Can't tell this. How about the father's accused of sexual? Okay, got that. That's Peter of Barbaria. Cool name. Okay. I think I got everything. Some people have some legit questions. Some people are just mad because of my tone. If I hurt your feelings, I'm sorry. But this is the reality of it. If you ever had a football coach, you got chewed out for not fighting and not getting out there and hitting somebody. I'm telling you, get out there and hit somebody and do something. So get on the offensive. You never win any war, any fight, any battle unless you're getting on the offensive and proactively fighting. Any football game, anything. When I fired my lawyer and he filed withdrawal, I had a word to say. So my judge asked me not to continue after I started arguing best interest of the child, saying I'll have a time. Well, at the hearing for your attorney to withdraw, if it's not a motion for you to have more time, you don't get to argue that. Here's another thing about attorneys. Do not have your attorney withdraw. Most states allow attorney to withdraw and then 10 days, they're your attorney for 10 days until their withdrawal is effective. Fire the attorney, then file a notice of pro se appearance immediately. You're representing yourself. Don't wait for that bull crap. Some courts will say, well, you need to get our permission to fire the attorney for them to withdraw. Did I get your permission to hire them? No. I have a right to represent myself. You're violating my constitutional right under California versus Ferretta. Fire your attorney and file a notice that you're representing yourself. End of story. This Monday on a pretrial hearing, you say, okay, well, if the judge allows you to do increased time, then you should make all the argument that's available to you. You should get all the signs, go to my flow page, go to the section that says must see for dads, and download the one with the picture of the brain, the other one that has the data on fathers, and then look at my argument for The number one argument for 50-50. So, okay, I'm going to get off here. So, those of you guys who are in the fight and battling, keep up the good fight. Those of you guys who've been scared and running and not fighting, time to man up and go to war. It's a war. And treat the monster like the monster she is. Stop not calling her what she is. And stop placating to her. Stop saying, I don't want custody. Go for full custody and get on the offensive. If you shoot for the stars, you might hit the moon. If you shoot for the clouds, you're only going to hit a tree branch.